And hello, welcome to another edition of Between Two Nuts. Uh, Today, I'm actually sitting down with my real life friend as well as internet friend, Big Rich. Our topic is going to be about the New Rebellion. This is kind of in the genre of not just pop culture, but in the mainstream media, things that we see every day, the direction of society, and all that good stuff. But I did want to welcome Big Rich to the show. Rich, go ahead and introduce yourself to people who may not be familiar with you.
I appreciate the shout out. Yeah, Big Rich. Name is Richard. Everybody calls me Big Rich or Rich. I'm a big man in real life. I'm a 6'5", 290 pound man. So I'm pretty big in real life. Father of two beautiful princesses, five girls altogether if you count me and my other half. So yeah, um, I started up a gaming channel, YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitch, Twitter, U.N.D Game or Die. I just thought about doing it one day, and it's kind of like a branch of my main Facebook group I created a couple of years ago, just called U.N.D, Universal Nerd Division, and I just said, oh, let me go ahead and decide that I want to, get into some gaming, start streaming some gaming. So let me just branch off of that and create U.N.D Game or Die. So I'm not a big time gamer or streamer or whatever. I'm not going to be
Mm-hmm.
on there all the hours of the day and night. I got a family. I work a regular job. So, they come first before anything. So if there's periods where there's no streaming for a week or whatever, that's because I'm busy. So, but no, I'm getting into it and I love, and sharing, my gaming with everybody and having everybody enjoy that. So yeah, I'm a noob at it right now. I'm a rookie at it, but I'm getting into it. I like it. So I'm a gamer when I get the chance. I can't be a gamer like I used to be, but I still find time to game. So
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, well, got that in for the day.
yeah.
It kind of sucks in a way because as we get older, it's like, oh, we have kids. There's other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. My mom was always, though, she told me ever since I was a kid, enjoy your childhood while you can. You only got one childhood, so enjoy it. So, you know, um, I did enjoy any chance and I remember I used to game all night and not be tired. We just
Mm-hmm.
be up all night and still be like, oh man, like I used to be able to do that, and now I'll be going to bed at 8 o'clock. I'll be the first one knocked out out of
Man,
everybody.
I remember
So
those
I
nights, man. I remember being up
yeah,
and being up all night,
yeah.
all the way into the morning, and then like getting up and going to work because
See, it's funny you say that because when I was a kid, we used to hang out. This Native American family that lived right next door to us, and they were real cool. Is a boy named Brent, and we used to go to his house to play video games. And he had this big ass Rubbermaid basket at the head of his bed, at the end of his bed or whatever, and it was just filled with cookies and chips and ginger ale and all that. And so I copied him. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I went to Target, got me a big ass basket, and filled that shit up with snacks and everything. And my mom used to come in there and steal my fig Newtons and all that. But yeah, I used to have that ready. I'd just sit there, reach into the basket, and have my snacks and games. So I miss those days. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, those are good memories. Like being able, I had a small container of snacks, and it was mostly like that
Hmm.
same kind of shit. Like it was at the
Hmm.
time, it was like Three Musketeers, and
Hmm.
and they had the mint ones that came out one year. I was like, oh shit, because I love chocolate and mint. I'm like, oh,
Hey, Three Musketeers was the shit. Three Musketeers. I was a
mm-hmm,
Babe Ruth person, and of course
mm.
Snickers. Milky Way. Milky Way. I mess with every once in a while, but it was mainly Three Musketeers. I love Three
Yeah, those
Musketeers.
are good. Like the Milky
Yeah.
Ways are okay. I think it's the caramel,
Hmm.
caramel, whatever. It
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just a little too much for me. I'm like, whatever. Like it seems like a waste because I'd be more chocolate, but whatever. Um,
Hmm.
but anyway, we we can talk about candy for an hour. But yeah, I know we can because we've talked about food before. But Rich and I
Hmm.
used to, we still do. We're on hiatus, is what I call it. Run a podcast, and we did that for a couple of years, more than a couple of years.
Hmm.
And the topics we talk about were very alternative topics. So that meant a little bit of, We get into ghosts, we get into UFOs and ancient technology, that kind of stuff, Hollow Earth stuff. Um, we talked
Mhm.
about, well, mainstream
The,
media.
the unexplained, yeah, the
Yeah,
mainstream media, all that. Yep.
yep. Because we got, cause especially when the politics happened, like, because we've been doing it prior to the election, and
Hmm.
when that happened, I mean, when the election happened with Trump, neither one of us were shocked by him being
No.
elected because we saw
Mm-mm.
we knew what was going on of not just on YouTube but just in general in the alternative news community. It was
Yeah.
because there's a lot of fake news. Don't get me wrong, but there's
Mhm.
man, it was the non-mainstream media that called this crap because they knew that the direction of just the culture and society and how people were thinking. None of this was surprising. It doesn't mean we support it one way or the other because whatever. Now, what do you think you align to as far as political? Are you central? What would you consider?
Honestly, I politics is something I've never been a fan of. And if my
Mm-hmm.
mother, you know, and she enjoy her afterlife wherever she is in this universe or the next, she would tell you I couldn't stand politics. And I think it goes back to just learning a lot about certain things being rigged and people in power making moves and power play and playing a whole puppet and puppeteer thing and it just the whole belief as a kid you learn about voting and everything like that and you're just like yeah I want to make sure my vote counts and everything like that and when you realize kind of stuff behind the scenes, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I would want nothing more than a legit presidency and a legit system overhaul, government overhaul. Um, but unfortunately, when you have people that pull strings and stuff, I don't know if I'll ever see that in my lifetime. I don't know if my kids will ever see that in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Hell, it's 2019, and it seems like we've gone backwards when it comes to hate and discrimination and issues with race. It seems like you would think by 2019, things would look a lot better. But me and you both know that there's motives behind
Oh
certain
yeah.
things going on, and it's just sad because me raising my daughters, and I'm gonna keep it 100. Like I didn't want kids, and because not because I didn't think I'd be a good father. I think I'm the father of the year every year, but it's because I sensed where society was heading.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying there's not good. Of course, there's
No. 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 No.
good,
No.
but now it seems like this day and age, it's like the negative. It just overshadows the positive now. It's
Well,
like you
yeah.
can't even turn on the TV without hearing some. It's like that's why I don't really watch the news. Like, I mean, I'll go on the internet and catch up what's up, but it's like at home, honestly, I don't even, I very rarely watch the news at home. Like,
Yeah.
I don't,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a lot of stuff that makes you just look at things. Like I said, it just leaves that bad taste in your mouth, and it just makes me feel like sometimes I feel like are we as a society are we even going to get better?
No.
Is it just
Right.
going to
Mm-hmm.
continue to go in a downward spiral from here?
Well, I think the part with the kids. Uh, when I had my first son, a long time ago, um, I was pretty horrified at the direction of the amount of control. Okay, that the control in schools with children, the amount of control that was within the state, the amount of control that our society has changed into, where you didn't need to worry. Like when we were kids, you could go outside and play. You could go outside
Yes.
and play and be out there for hours and not have to worry about a
Yep.
neighbor calling CPS because they see a child playing by themselves. Um,
Exactly.
Now it's to the point where the village is trying to raise the child as a helicopter parent would, and they're like for example, if your child is outside when we were kids, you go outside, you ride your bikes, you're out there all day, sun up, sun down,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
you're out, and even sundown, you're pushing it. Um, but back then, you could do that, and nobody would give a damn. And that could be you solo, or that could be with you in a group. And
Hmm.
now, if your kid's outside playing in your own backyard or even in your front yard, people lose their fucking minds. You know, they'll
Yeah,
they'll call they'll be like trying to talk to the neighbors, like, oh my god, why is this child out there by themselves? And the kid is like double age difference. I'm not saying leave your 5-year out in their front yard, but if you got a 10 or 11-year old, when I was 10 or 11, dude, when I was 8, when I was 6, I was out playing. You know, I know it's a different
yeah.
world, but I lived in a fucking city. This isn't, I lived in a very dangerous city, not like Detroit or a Michigan, where we're at now,
Hmm.
unfortunately, a city in Michigan or a city in maybe in St. Louis. I've heard stories of friends that live there. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, we've turned this society into like a helicoptering, coddling, babying society because of fear that's been pumped into it, just like the fake rumors about razor blades being put into fucking apples. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, being a '80s baby, '90s kid, we were like the last of that period where you kind of had that freedom as a kid. Not saying that bad things didn't happen in
Mm-hmm.
the '90s or whatever, of course, but I look at it like this. It's like you were saying, the whole helicopter parents thing, and a lot of it, a lot of parents are afraid to have their kids go out now and
Oh
just
God, yeah.
play. It is, and like for example, Phoenix is the number one capital when it comes to child abductions for sex trafficking and all that. Now Phoenix is number one out here. So
Ooh, that was
yeah, you
fast.
yeah. So now it's like, you want your kids to go out there explore, but it's like, well, I'll be out there with you, or don't go too far. Like when I was a kid, me and my brother, my mom was like, all right, y'all go out, and we knew when the lights came on, it was time
Mm-hmm.
to come in.
Right.
We'd be out with our bikes, riding around with our friends, or whatever, over there playing video games, whatever. And my mom would come out, Richard Todd, Michael Anthony. She already knew, or we already knew what time it was. It was time to come up. It was
Yeah.
time to go in. So it's like now, unless you can't even say if you're in a safe neighborhood, because it just sometimes it don't matter. But it's not like it doesn't feel like the neighborhood watches out for the kids anymore.
No. And
It.
here's a question about that though. Like,
Mm,
would you say that it's now when we have these kids that are getting, let's say, abducted, or kids that are actually
mhm.
having real crimes happen to them, which is unfortunately now the case, where there's just more violent offenses. Do you think this is because the kids are not properly prepared for the world, so they don't have those street smarts, they don't have that moral compassing to common sense? I know that's a superpower, but having
Mm.
that common sense of how to negotiate and make a good judgment call for their own safety. Do you think that because the helicoptering, do you think that those things have linked together to create that issue with why kids are becoming more susceptible to violent crime and other shit?
Mhm. I, I do, to a point. When I was a kid, my mom raised us. Let us know, like, she didn't sugarcoat anything. Growing up, especially growing up as black boys in this country.
Mhm.
Our mom prepped us the best she could. Um, and she used to always say, "We make it to 18, we're lucky." So she prepped us about survival and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
and I think a lot of it has to do with that. Um, Especially if a child let's say you're a young teenage girl and they're in a living situation where parents really don't care, or parents just let them do whatever. They just don't really, or aren't on them about what to look out for and all that. They're gonna be gullible to an extent because they're not prepared for it. And
Mhm.
and especially, let's keep it real. If you're a teenager, your hormones are through the roof, and you're all these different feelings and all that. I know I was when I was a teenager, and so you become susceptible to a lot of different things, and I think with that it makes it easier for people to lure you in, snatch you up or whatever the
Mhm.
case is. And then with now 2019, social media is such a big thing now. We didn't have that growing up. We
Mhm.
didn't have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. We didn't have none of that, MySpace, none of that. So we didn't have to worry about, you know, you know, hopping on a social media platform and seeing all this or, you didn't have to worry. You just went outside and played. It's just totally different. I think it's a gift and a curse that the kids this day is surrounded with so much technology. Um, it's cool that they get to be around this, grow up around this. Yeah, it's cool, but at the same time, it's like they've lost a part of themselves, being so wrapped up in all this technology and everything. And a lot of them aren't prepared. You don't know how many times I've tried to, and my girls included.
Oh yeah.
There'll be so much on YouTube and this and that, and just so fascinated with that stuff. It's like y'all don't want to go outside and play. They're like, huh? They look at me crazy. Like, no, it's like they're zombies now. Kids are
Right.
like zombies now when it comes to this stuff.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
And
there's too much available. It's amazing how much.
yes,
The problem is like limiting screen time, doing all this crap, right? Because you want them
yeah,
to detach and unplug and know what the world is like with just your imagination a little bit, without having to constantly. There was this really interesting article I read recently about how more millennials, and also younger people in general, that Z or whatever, um, are just, they find that the words loneliness and boredom are bad. And immediately, if someone says they're lonely, everyone just like scurries, okay, like mother hens to, oh,
hmm
don't be lonely. Sometimes loneliness, it can be both. I believe that loneliness isn't necessarily a negative thing. I think that
hmm
having some solitude is absolutely different than having loneliness, but I don't think that those words over time, and this was what the gist of the article, very well written article too, was, the gist of it was, in society we've created this bubble of negative connotations going towards loneliness and boredom. And so people immediately think, well, I have to be doing something. I can't be bored. Well, my mind doesn't work that way. It never has, because you had a
hmm
sibling growing up, and it's a very different dynamic when you have a sibling to a point. But um, when I was young, I didn't have the siblings. So there wasn't anybody there to kind of like, I didn't have cousins. I didn't have anybody around my age group that I was related to in my family. So it was just kind of me doing whatever. So there was this, go do this, go play outside, go have, basically I was on my own, to kind of like keep myself occupied. And even with the introduction of like a Super Nintendo or a Game Boy,
hmm
those things still didn't keep me indoors. I was more or less going and doing stuff because I had been, from very young,
hmm
told, use your imagination, go play and stop being an ass. It isn't about you, you know,
hmm
and you start to learn the difference between boredom and how to keep yourself occupied versus
yeah,
being bored because you're lonely, because it's a very different thing. And loneliness is not a negative thing all the time. I mean, yes, you need to have human interaction, and yes, that's a good thing, but it's sometimes good not to have human interaction, because otherwise you can't think. I believe that's your critical thinking time. That's the time that you use to, think outside the box, maybe read a lot or get into your hobbies and start developing your own skills, because you're not going to learn a lot when you're part of a collective thought. So if you're always
hmm
around people and you always have somebody holding your hand, you're not going to really develop very far. And with the
yeah,
kids
that's true.
now, I mean, when you see the kids now, they're handed an iPad, they're handed, internet access. Basically, that's, there you go, that's everything. I mean, that's YouTube, or that's streaming videos, or that's the creative aspects to those things are not the same. Like, I was having a conversation with my friends. I went to fine art school for a long time, so I still have a lot of friends that are, they grew up and they're now doing, art. They're either teachers or they're still artists, and they do different things. And they're like,
Mm.
the new type of art with digital art has pissed off a lot of artists who actually have skills. And so, meaning you have a falsified form of art being thrown out there into the world, a lot of superficiality, not so much creativity, but superficial forms of artwork that are being thrown out there and called art when it's not. It's digital shit thrown together. Because even the graphic,
Mhm.
excuse me, even the graphic arts I do, it's like a collage of things that I put together, and I do other independent art, but that's not as well appreciated as this illusion of what people think is there's a lack of imagination that's developed. That's the argument. And so this comes from the same thing, having too many things at your fingertips and people not having the ability to be bored and be content being bored a little bit.
Mhm.
And then, or finding avenues of, different things they can do to channel that energy into, that creative energy into. So whether that's writing, which is one of my go-tos, I'm always writing. And even if it's crap, I'm writing it because it's helping me develop my writing. And
Yeah.
I've read, you know, I worked on several. Right now I'm editing a website, which that's going to be going away soon for me because I have other crap going on now. But I'm always keeping busy and I'm always moving forward. I don't like to plateau. But there's a lot of people that they see, let's say they see you successful, Rich. Let's just say they see you, oh, well, Rich is really successful. He's doing all these things. I want to get to that plateau. And that's where they stop. Okay,
Yeah.
they don't see anything past that. They think, well, I can take this avenue and that avenue, and this might open that door. It might, but it's very limited. It's not your path. So you're trying to ride the coattails of other people to use their clout or to manipulate and get things that you think you're going to get out of them to make yourself look better, but it doesn't work that way. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't know how to climb social ladders. They only know how to mimic and follow. And I think this all links back. I'm bringing it back to the original. They don't understand how to be one, lonely, two, have those skills,
Mhm.
to overcome these things. It's like they don't know how to have perseverance or fortitude to go down to blaze their own trails. They're too busy riding coattails. And I think that goes back to how they're raised and how they see the world
Mhm.
around them.
Yeah, I think with me and as a parent, especially a new parent, and as you get older, raise your kids, you change things because you're learning, from your mistakes. And I try to model the way I raise my girls the, after the way my mother raised us.
Right,
I can never duplicate what my mom did for us and how much her impact meant for me and my brothers, but I can do what I can as Richard, for
right,
my daughters. And I learned, when they were younger, I have them sit in front of the TV and here's watch some little Einsteins which was cool shows, for them to watch little Einsteins and Wow Wow Wubsy and all that. But as they started getting older, I set out goals. And one of the things I always tell them is I want them to strive for greatness, and I tell them I want excellence. When they tell when it comes to their report cards and all that, I said I don't want anything less than an A. They're like,
mm,
well, what about a B? I'm like, yeah, that you're not striving for greatness. I said I want no excuses. And I mean, I say it to them. I'm not being mean about it or whatever. And I said, do you understand why I talk to you girls like this about striving for greatness and I want excellence? It's
right,
because I want y'all to be 100 times better than me. I want you to be 100 times better than your mother.
right.
Okay. I don't want y'all to just say, okay, well, I'm here. No, go beyond that.
Well, yeah, you're making a point too. Is that
Mm,
as a good parent, you have several jobs, and there's
yeah.
no handbook for this shit. So you're guessing as you
Mm-mm.
go. You're figuring out how can I not cause this child to explode or
Yeah.
implode, and also
Yeah.
at the same time give them the tools to make it into the world, but also have the ambition to make it in the world because there's a lot of people that lack that ambition. And
Exactly.
it's not just in schooling, it's those tools of just learning how to strive and be the best you can
Yes.
and not say, well, I can't do it because I'm a girl or I can't do it because I'm just not that smart. The truth is, everyone has a form of intelligence. It's at some point, some people surrendered it and said, I just want to be a dumbass. Okay, that's your path.
Yeah.
You're not
Exactly.
going to take me or any of my loved ones with you. These are the same
Hmm.
idiots that are drunk drivers. They're the same idiots. They will justify their actions and for whatever. But if you give them the tools as a parent,
Hmm.
those things that your job is, you want your children you want your children to be successful, but with the right tools, the proper tools. Generationally, you know, the greatest generation gave their children a lot of things that they couldn't have. And that's worked
Yes.
for and against the boomer generation because quite
Hmm.
a few where they had mentors. And this was an argument I've made many times um, about this is that the boomer generation had mentorship. They had
Yep.
people from that greatest generation or even from their own that were mentoring them and moving them along. And when you look at the great mentors that we've had in the past, a lot of them come from that, whether it's the late or early part of the greatest generation or the silent generation in some cases. But the mentorship was such a significant thing because it was that whole master and apprentice, interaction, right, between generations. Our elders were the
Yeah.
ones guiding us. The
Yep.
boomer generation started to struggle with being mentors. So, people that are Xers, they got some
Hmm.
mentorship a little bit because the greatest generation was still around when we, for that generation. I had mine, but they, I had them later in life. But those were my mentors. It wasn't,
Yeah.
the boomer generation became less and less more of a mentorship as it became more of a helicoptering, you know, there's a lot of warning flags. They'll give you warning flags, but it wasn't the same kind of thing. And it's not for
Yeah.
all. I wouldn't sit there and say all of them are like this, but no, there's a reoccurring theme though, and that's the issue is that it became more like, um, I'll say this, um, when the boomers were bringing this extra generation up, and as well as the millennial generation up, there were a lot of boomers having children later in life. So it makes this huge age gap, between who's a millennial, who's not. It's a massive generation of children because of when they were born, because there was mothers going back to work in the 80s, or there were some more single mothers come out there where that was not a thing back in, like, I don't know, the 60s, 50s
Yeah.
and so on. It was around, it just wasn't as significant. And as you got into the 80s, if it wasn't single mothering, it was a lot of the women just going to the workplace. So that meant there was a lot of latchkey kids and daycare center kids. And, we've all been in, you and I have both been in that bracket, latchkey king. We're both latchkey kids, I think. Um,
Yeah.
and daycare or being babysat by family or friends, that kind of shit was very repetitive because it was a single parent household. So it changed the dynamic of mentorship. It changed the dynamic of the roles that were involved in our lives. So we had to look for mentors in different ways. And some of those ways weren't great. Some of those ways are through family members and friends and even teachers and things like that. But there's this lack of guidance. So as we've moved forward, millennials definitely don't have the guidance. I would say even the Zers are lacking that guidance. I think it's getting better, but there's
Hmm.
very few of us parents like you and I that sit down with our children and are honest with them and don't coddle them and tell them, listen, you know, um, there's several moral examples of this, but you know, teaching your children that you know uh, they don't need to quote have a religion to be spiritual, right? Or they don't need to um, be of any kind of religious nature to have morals and ethics. Okay, this was a
Yeah.
conversation I had recently, and
Hmm.
these in the old school, the mentors were always like it was very black and white. Oh well, you need to believe in God, you need to do this, you need to do that. There are some people that don't believe, they're agnostic or they're even atheist. Okay, and that's fine. I don't care.
Hmm.
Um, but don't make those practices your religion. Uh, what do you call it? Misplaced belief systems because of anger or rejection or negative things. Have questions about everything possible. So that means if you're a Christian, you should be questioning things. There is nothing in that
Hmm.
Bible or even in the Torah or in the Quran. If your book tells you you're going to go to hell for questioning God, even remotely, you're in the wrong place. Okay.
Hmm.
So with children, they need to have those questions. They need to be able to ask questions. That's the point. Your mentor should be someone you can ask questions to without being, what's the word, belittled, berated, lied to.
Hmm.
And I think that that's the issue is we had a whole lot of kids that were lied to. They, they you
I
know,
tell my girls the same thing that my mom always told me, and hell, I even got a tattoo of it. It's assume nothing and question everything.
Right.
and that's the mentality I want them to have. And I think for me, I learned to adapt real quickly when it comes to you know um, my girls, and as a parent, what when it's time to pull back, when it's time to be there more than normal and stuff like that. So it's the ebb and flow kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when it comes, like you said, having that structure, and as long as my girls, I keep them busy. They're in multiple sports. They be like, especially my youngest one. She hasn't decided what kind of scientist she wants to be, so I get her involved in different fields of science. See, kind of get her a feel for what it is, what area she wants to focus on. I do my thing, but this is just how I raise my kids and get them focused and all that. Everybody's different, so I can't sit here and say, "Oh, my way is the best way to do it," and blah 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 blah. Same thing when it comes to belief systems. My mom never forced any kind of belief system on us, even though she was a Buddhist practitioner, and she studied Buddhism, and that was the path she chose. She never forced anything on us.
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
never said, "Oh, you guys got to go to the temple and meditate." No, she said, "Whatever makes you happy, you
Mm-hmm.
know."
Mm-hmm.
In a very Buddhist way. Whatever makes you happy, if it gets you through life, if it gets you everything, and this is what you want to believe in, then by all means.
Right.
And that's the same mentality I have with my kids.
Right.
If they say, "Dad, we believe in God," okay, cool.
Right.
Whatever, Dad, we believe in leprechauns. All right, you know,
E-
cool.
Exactly. And I think when it comes to um, I think it's what's interesting is there is this movement of intellectualism, right? That tells everybody, well, we're better than that. So I heard it.
Hmm.
It was a comment. I brought it up before because it struck me as kind of an ignorant answer, but it was by
Hmm.
Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
so Penn was saying that he believed that this was on. I think he was in an interview with Joe Rogan. He said he basically alluded to that he believes that we have outgrown traditional war as a species, and that we
Hmm.
basically aren't going to have any. We've outgrown it. I mean, we're not going to have real wars because the wars now changed to more internet based and more digital based and like virtual based. And I would argue that's a very. I understand what he's saying. I think though it's an ignorant standpoint because
Hmm.
humans by nature are tribalistic. When it comes down to
Hmm.
survivalism, go look at what happens at a grocery store when the electricity is out for more than 4 hours.
Yep.
And or during a crisis such as a hurricane, natural disaster, go try to get a
Hmm.
bag of ice or try to go to just a general grocery store or even just trying to get around during a curfew. What are people doing? They're looting, they're robbing, they're losing their frickin' minds,
Hmm.
all because they've lacked either the internet. A lot of people react when they don't have their internet, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it's because it's so much intertwined with our lives that we don't have internet, we're like, oh, because most of our life has been on the internet. Believe it or not, a good chunk of it, our everyday life is basically on the internet. Even how people shop, how people watch stuff, it's all internet, digital based, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that goes out, people are just like they don't know how to handle it.
No. And so I think that was a kind of a ignorant thing to say in a sense because the
Yeah.
intellectuals believe that well if we don't curse and we helicopter society we start labeling a language as hate speech that this somehow will coordinate a better society. I think that's a lie because deep down
Yeah.
we're still animals. All of us we're mammals. Spoiler alert. And as long as you have that innate, these things are manipulated all the time by the media, as well as government, as well as general societal qualms. If you have a group full of women, and this is the truth, just like you have a group full of men, what is the
Mhm.
top? If a woman, let's say an attractive woman, walks by a group of men, what are they going to be
Yeah.
thinking, regardless if they're saying it out loud? You know what I mean? It's and like this whole thing of like, well, you better not sexualize that woman. Well, guess what? They're doing that in their heads, whether they're saying it out loud or not. That doesn't make it right or wrong. The cat calling and all that crap, I don't care about because I don't care. Um,
Yeah, I know me personally, in my head, uh, if
mm-hmm.
I see or I see some girl coming through with some mad cake, I'm gonna be like, in my head, I'm like, damn, and that's
Exactly.
just,
It,
as I'm not saying it out loud, she don't
no,
hear it, but in my head, I'm like, fuck,
it's like
so
exactly our natural reactions to like if I see a nice looking man walk by, I'm gonna look,
yeah,
man. I'm gonna look,
yeah,
and I'm gonna be
it's
looking.
just natural.
Well, yeah, because
It,
it's going back to that primal instinct, and so we're trying to quote police that primal instinct by saying, well, you can't say that out loud. Okay, that's fine, but you're not going to change the way someone thinks unless, and that's the reason why you have all these, quote, mental health problems that people are claiming to have, is because they cannot adapt to the fact that they're human and that they're
mhm.
going to naturally go to areas of the brain that are not. I've said things in my head that I'm like, that's illegal. Yeah, you know, and I haven't done anything that would, connect to that. But
Mhm.
we think those things by nature. Like for example, if somebody messes with my child,
Yeah.
like, and they let's just say, and we've had this argument, and I'm going to pose the same question to you too that I've talked about before with others. If somebody were to physically harm one of your kids,
Mhm.
and let's say your child has been, it's one of the worst scenarios possible, okay, whether that's rape,
Mhm.
whatever, and then they're murdered. What is your innate first reaction and your thought process of what you want to do when that news comes?
As a parent, um, whether it's your mom or dad, the fact that your child is hurt, it goes because as a parent, my daughters see me as this big protector of them. Something like that happens, I'm angry, hurt, sad. It's all you go through a whole bunch of different emotions because it's like you feel you wasn't there to protect them
Mm-hmm.
when whatever happened. So you're angry, and of course you want vengeance. If something like seriously happened, I'm gonna be on Merc status. Like it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be an episode of First 48 for me because somebody harm my babies,
Yeah.
so I'm ready to do some dirt. Like that's just natural. You want vengeance, and I feel for parents who's had to deal with some horrific situations with regarding their kids or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even imagine, and it's like stories you hear every day, and it just breaks your heart because it's like I couldn't even, like, if that happened to I don't even want to picture it, but it the first thing on my mind is murder, like
Mm-hmm.
real talk, like if it's that serious, like I'm pretty sure I'll look good in an orange jumpsuit, it's whatever, or out here I guess it'd be the pinstripe, whatever. I'll be cool with it, like, but then I think after a while
Yeah.
you kind of settle back down. But during that period, and it doesn't always work like this. Some people go all out. They
Yeah.
end up finding the person or whatever. It kind of reminds you. I don't know if you ever seen that movie. Um, I can't even it's with Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler. Something civilian or citizen. Oh, the
I know.
something citizen. Anyway,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the dude basically had to watch his wife and his daughter get raped and killed in front of him,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
he eventually got his revenge on the dudes that did it, but it's just something like that. eh, all you're thinking about is vengeance. You want them to feel the pain they put you through,
Yeah.
so
The name of that movie is Law Abiding Citizen.
yeah, law abiding citizen. I don't know why I couldn't.
No, there's so many
It
movies
wasn't
with
popping.
Citizen.
But yeah, yeah. So he had to watch those horrific events happen. So he wanted, and then to find out that Jamie Foxx was a lawyer of one of the dudes that he was able to get off or whatever. One dude was able to get off, other dude got the death penalty. So seeing that, and then looking at the justice system not working, you would think like my wife and my daughter just got brutally murdered and raped. The justice system is going to work. Nope, it doesn't always work like that. And so you see your murderer, the murder of your kids or your significant other, get away, or they walk away with a slap on the wrist. Of course, you're gonna want to do some dirt. Like, okay, you guys gonna do it, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole nother ball game. Something horrific like that happens to your kids or significant other or both. You don't want to think in a calming manner. You want vengeance. You want them to suffer. You want them to go through what you're going through. So that's a whole different ball game.
Right. I mean, and with children though, it's one of those things where the primal instinct of a parent is to protect your child. And
Hmm.
so if somebody, I've seen it come out in myself. Like there's been things that have happened where, I mean, thank
Hmm.
God I had somebody there. I remember there was a situation that arose where I don't remember how angry I was. It's hard to explain, but I know that had that person not been there, or if I had no checks and balances when I had gotten the news, I would have absolutely, there would have been hell to pay, and I don't know what would have become of that. Because
Hmm.
I don't, that's a different kind of rage when someone threatens your child. And it's one thing if they threaten you as an adult. You're like, whatever, people are going to be that way. That's life. And I'm not saying that's acceptable behavior, then you just take care of it. Um, but if they're messing with your kids because they feel that that is a weakness, which is the only reason why you would go after children in the end, is to get at other people. Meaning, like, it's one thing if the child's being an ass. It's a whole nother thing if the child is just an innocent bystander.
Hmm.
And that still doesn't justify, of course, death threats and behavior like that. But when it comes to anyone's child, you start messing with them, you're rattling a tree, and the hornet's nest is going to land on your ass, and that's just the way it goes. But I think the way that our society has developed is that these primal instincts that by nature, whether for better or for worse, are being demonized as being, the intellectuals have always done this. Historically, they've always kind of said, well, oh, you're just, dumb, and I'm a reader. Like it's kind of like what the church did to its people back in the day, where only they knew how to read the Bible because it was only in Latin or it was only in Greek or Aramaic, and nobody else could really read it. But so that way they could dictate to the peasants who could not read what to think, feel, and live. And that's very dangerous.
Exactly.
And I think it's the same way. Those intellectuals have just transferred across the board over history. So we've seen it during Stalin's regime. We've seen it during Hitler's regime. We've seen it with Mussolini. We've seen it under the Cuban issues that have gone on, better or for worse. We see it now with China. We see the
Hmm.
justifications for. I mean, there was some comments made recently by some person named I'm trying not to like get into it too deep because it's political, but it was a representative who said that we should not acknowledge any genocide unless we were willing to acknowledge all genocides. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, like I don't know
Hmm.
what you're talking about. Um, and I'm like, you need to acknowledge anything that is related to genocide. This disavowing and saying never again hasn't changed history, but it's
Hmm.
it's that intellectual ego that comes in and says, "Well, I know better than you, the peasants, because I read." These assholes don't read anything. Obviously, don't read the legislation, of course, unless they got that addendum receipt for the lobbyist attached to it. They don't care. They don't care about uh, the people as much as they care about their reputation or their appearance, and that's kind of what intellectuals have done in many ways. Is kind of dumbed down those nature, those instincts. There was a recent article this week talking about this transgendered female to male had was complaining because I couldn't get any dates. And they're like, well, they don't want to be with a transgendered person, and that's wrong, and blah 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 blah. And they were like trying to kind of get into why this was the case, and then getting angry because of it. And I'm like, listen, human nature is going to always be there, regardless of any scientific revelations or changes in society, evolutionary wise. Okay, human nature always supersedes it. Doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it uh, the best answer, but it is by nature. We are so ignorant as humans that we don't understand that our basis as an animal. We are an animal. We're an organic being. Okay, so
Hmm.
the way that our brains go back to are going to be, yeah, we outgrow things. Like some people it's gallbladders, some people it's wisdom teeth, but when you get into the actual fight or flight of a human being, or just like with any animal,
Yeah.
that's just by nature. That's a natural reaction. Now it's how you control it that makes you a better person, but at the same time, or a less, or a worse person, depending on how you look at it. Um,
Hmm.
but when they try to like dumb down people by saying, well, you're not as intellectually ahead because you have to use foul language or you have to physically fight. It's that very uppityness, and I'm like, well, there are situations, and as a female, I guarantee you this, and women need to figure this out too, that this whole feminist enrichment crap. I mean,
Yeah.
you've taught your daughters
Hmm.
self-defense. You've put them into programs that will help them gain
Hmm.
independence and truly be empowered, not just go through the motions of being a victim.
Hmm.
And it is very hard with young women or just being a female in general, because the truth is that women are judged from the moment that they're brought into this world as a kid, well until the old age, of how they are treated by society. And
Yeah.
it's rough, and it's not something that I think that I've heard people bring up portions of it in conversation, but when you have children, you're having to raise your daughters like I'm raising mine to
Yeah.
understand that the world around them is not always. Let's be honest. Can your daughters travel to Pakistan safely alone? Probably
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I would never tell my daughter to go traveling alone to certain countries, especially because you need to understand, take your intellectual hat and research the country, not have somebody tell you from a position of authority. You should be questioning that position of authority at all times. I do tell my kids, you absolutely question authority, even if that's me, which is fine. Now, if you're being a jackass, then Lord help you. But if
Hmm.
you're legitimately asking a question and you do have a concern, don't be afraid to question that authority. Don't go full anarchy on it either, but you need to be able to question your authority figures. So if somebody says to your daughters, oh, yeah, you can go to this country, it's totally safe. Well, I know for a fact your daughters, especially your eldest, she'll pick up a book and look it up. She'll be like, well, wait a minute. If she was, let's say she's 20, let's just say for the sake of,
Hmm.
she's 20 years old, somebody tells her she can go to whatever this country is. It's totally safe for women, not a problem, blah, blah, blah. You have newspapers telling her all this bullshit, whatever. She does the research, figures out that that is not a place that she needs to go alone as a female without a escort and a translator, you know, and she would have the initiative and drive and ambition to know better. That's empowerment. That's empowering yourself to make a better educated decision as opposed to jumping on the coattails of people above you who said, yeah, this is safe. And then what happens? We've heard all these horror stories of young women being told one story and it wasn't the case at all.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
that's scary because I mean that's part of the development of for children is having it's a form of rebellion, really, is is,
Mhm.
is information and how to use that information, because we have a problem, we really do.
Yeah. And like you said, how it is now with the whole. I don't want to use the word everybody's sensitive. It's different because it depends on the situation.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the race thing is still a touchy subject because it's still going on.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hate is still going on. Um, but I understand how there are certain times where it has that feeling like every other person is getting offended by every little thing now.
Mhm.
And to me, of course, there's going to be things that you like, hey, that's disrespectful or whatever, and you can't be doing that. But there's some things where you're just like, really, like it just, it's just a different time period now,
Yeah.
and the whole thing. Here's my thing. And you're right about, as far as my girls, always making them aware of their surroundings, always giving them stuff to research. You always, no matter what, if you go into a different country, you got to learn the rules of that country, learn all the customs and everything, before you just go show up there and think you could do the same stuff over there you could
Yeah.
do over here.
Right.
Yeah, you can't do that. So, but no, as far as everything else, and what the one thing that's got like, whatever your orientation is, I could care less because you're not laying up in my bed. So, whatever.
Right.
Um, what I don't understand, it almost feels like there's this big push to try to force it down people's throat to, and it's like, I get all these different orientations, okay, but my thing is when I'm reading articles about mother and our husband and our ex-husband, ex-wife going to court, um, to have the judge rule in whoever's favor because the
Oh.
mom wants to, I think he's 7, wants to
Yeah.
go ahead and have a change. And I'm like, yo, like, wait a minute, hold up, like stuff like that. It's just,
We're
I.
really we're really I think that my argument about now that's a good topic really because
Mm,
uh um I know what you're talking about. It's about the father here in Texas, I think it was. Um
mm-hmm.
the father was he was obviously like, no, we're not going to have a sex
Yeah,
change
we're not doing that. What
therapy.
the heck?
Yeah.
Like, he's 7. He's
Right.
7.
Yeah, it was the
You know?
father and the mother's the one that was all in on this, and they were divorced, I
Yeah.
believe, and it is getting reviewed again because I guess yes, it made it through, but then it got halted, meaning wait a minute, we need to take a look at this. We can't just say okay, yeah, sure, let's let this 7-year-old start having hormones pumped into them. I have a sincere problem with this, and let me tell you why I do. Is
Mm,
this child is 7? Every
mm-hmm.
little kid, absolutely every child that I've known has gone through a phase where they want to be the opposite gender. Now, I call it
Mm-hmm.
a phase because it went away for them. Other children, it may
Yeah.
not, and I understand that. But
Mm-hmm.
they're also not emotionally, intellectually developed enough to recognize those traits until they hit a certain point in their sexual development. They haven't even hit puberty. This kid hasn't hit
Yeah.
puberty. So now you're
Not even
messing.
had, like, he haven't even looked at any, like, Skinamax films late at night in the middle of the night. Ooh, what's the, like, none of that's
Right.
even happened yet.
No, and we're pushing this we're sexualizing children into such a way that
Mm-hmm.
somehow they understand sexuality at 6 years old or at 7 years old. No, they're
Exactly.
figuring it out. So even if,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it does go back to the parenting, meaning the parent,
Yes.
in the end, the parent is responsible for their child. This is not brain rocket science, whatever you want to call it, brain surgery, rocket science. This isn't that difficult. This goes back
Mm-hmm.
to what you're pumping your child full of. If you want your kid to be transsexual, you can easily manipulate that child. And I'm not kidding. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that happens. I mean, how many children have been severely abused as kids and went on in
Mm-hmm.
life to not have children themselves. It's because of how they were treated as a child, what was given to them and what was told to them and what was given to them as a form of truth. And the thing is a child needs to be able to be psychologically, emotionally, and in some cases spiritually developed in
Mm-hmm.
their own way, meaning they know themselves well enough to know, you know what, I know I'm in the wrong, I feel that I'm in the wrong body. And if you're a good enough fucking parent, you don't need hormone treatment to support that child, okay, that
Let them
young.
let them make their decision when they get old
Right,
enough, and it's like whatever happened to letting kids be kids. Let them do their thing. It's just like, and like you said, kids, they're a product of their environment.
right,
a lot of times kids are in situations they have no control over.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, the universe put them in a place where they're just in a fucked up situation, and it's so sad, you know. But you have, whether kids are coming and they look at a certain group of people a different way because of what they've been taught at home. A lot of times it's whoever you're hanging with too. But majority of stuff, your personality, who you are, a lot of that comes from home.
Yeah. Hmm.
You know, so if you're pumping stuff in their heads, they go around. It's gonna be spread.
Well, this is
If
the
you
thing.
if your family,
You
oh,
made
I'm
a
sorry, go ahead.
you made a good point. Is that
Hmm.
the child is a product of their environment. They don't have control over what their parent brings in to the home, what the
Hmm.
parent is forcing on them. This is the brutal fucking truth, okay? From somebody who grew up as an only child, female only child, dealing with a single parent home, is that there are people that are brought into your home that you have no control over, okay?
Hmm.
They could be alcoholics, they can be abusive behind closed
Yep.
doors. As long as the neighbors don't
Hmm.
see it, as long as the parents or the neighbors in the school have no idea what's going on behind those closed doors, okay?
Hmm.
That child is being forced into situations that they may not approve of safety wise, that are not healthy, and then over time it becomes a normalcy. Like, I lived with an
Hmm.
alcoholic for fucking years, man, and it was forced on me. It wasn't like he was a parent or a step parent. This was a live-in
Hmm.
boyfriend, and he was one. I wasn't the only one that went through this. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
The truth is that single mothers. There are some fantastic single mothers out there. There are some
Hmm.
fantastic single fathers out there, and they
Hmm.
know checks and balances of what to bring into their home and what not to allow in their home. You need to vet these people and understand who the hell you're exposing your children to, but also exposing your child in general to certain situations. You know,
Hmm.
you cannot sit here and justify your narcissism, which is abuse. And
Hmm.
I hate this shit. I absolutely hate it. This illusion. A woman. Okay, let me say this: playing the role of two parents is one of the hardest damn things in the world. It is.
It is. It definitely is. And just growing up in that situation, and my mom did everything in her power to take care of us the best she could, and we had our ups and downs, and it was just the situation what it was. We was raising three boys by herself, working two, three jobs to keep a roof over her head, to clothes on her back, food on the table.
Right.
And we went through struggles. We sure as hell did. There's times my mom felt like, we'll never get out of the situation, and at what time she didn't know what else to do at time. Like I seen her cry plenty of times because there was a period where it was just like we were just getting the short end of the stick no matter what,
Yeah.
you know. And so there was times where it felt like my mom, she wasn't going to give up, but it felt like she was at a point where she was just kind of lost and didn't know what else to do because not only were we in a single parent household, our my mom's side of the family didn't want anything to do with us. So growing up, and we have a ton of family out here.
Mhm.
Growing up, when I say we were on our own. There
Mhm.
was no help. The only
Mhm.
kind of help we had was from my dad's side of the family, which I loved them to death. And my grandma Dot, who just means the world to me, and just it loved my mom like her own daughter. But if it wasn't for them, ain't no telling how bad it would have got for us.
And that's
But
scary.
yeah, it is because when and it's sad, and that's how I kind of got a mentality of a loner mentality because we had birthdays and games, baseball games, football games, and it was like no other family. Your mom had to work. Mom's at work. She can't be at your games. So you're just there by yourself. Your birthdays. If it wasn't for your friends being there, it would just be you, your brothers, and your mom celebrating a birthday. And I had those too. So
Mhm.
it was different. And anytime I go back to North Carolina, I call that my second home because we're so embraced by them and all that. So it's tough, but my mom, no matter what we went through, she did everything in her power to raise us right, to
Mhm.
guide us
Mhm.
in the right path the best she could. So I can never sit here and say, "Oh, my mom was abusive and she did this to me and
No,
blah blah blah."
right.
No, it's not the case.
No.
My mom, she sacrificed everything for us.
And the thing is, your mom had ambition. So
Hmm.
even in the end, and this is, Big Rich's mom is, I guess it would be Big Mama. Anyway, um, the big mama, she was
Yeah.
very ambitious, very intelligent, very well educated, and she was not ignorant about how the world worked, nor was she ignorant about how people worked. Like she was
No, she
very,
kept it real.
yeah, she was, and her and I would go and talk for like a bunch of like a while. Like we go back and forth on
Hmm.
stuff and talk about different stuff. And she was always very like knowledgeable and very wise. But
Hmm.
it was from experience. She was like, and she'd say stuff like, "Okay, as a female, what I'm about to say," and I'm like, "Uh huh, I do. It's cool." Yeah, and it,
Yeah.
it would be that as a female, what you need to be aware of. It was
Hmm.
is the way she would say it. Way she would position
Hmm.
it, and that's what is so valuable for your girls, was to have that insight, was to have somebody of that wisdom say, listen, I understand you have all this quote feminism, whatever the hell it is now, I don't know, but you have this,
Hmm.
and this is what empowerment is. This is how to avoid being a victim. This is how to not embrace victimhood, but to learn from that, to not, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
not to fall into that victimhood, and to be a strong person, not just
Yep.
a female, but a person, a well rounded person who understands the world for what it is and understands human nature. That there's a great deal of people who are out for themselves. And unfortunately, that internet has fed into this ego of, like, example, if you're doing charitable acts, um,
Hmm.
which we all have, and I've volunteered and I've done hospice, I've done other things like that, and counseling work, suicide hotlines, crap like that. I would never think in my mind to videotape myself doing charity work or
Hmm.
putting that out there, because to me, charity work is an act of being humble and
Hmm.
it's service. So when you are serving someone, you shut up and you do what's
Yeah.
best by that person, not yourself. It is not about you, it is about the person that you're serving. The gift that you're given is being humble from that
Yeah.
experience and like uh, dealing with that situation. So when you're on the internet and people are like, look at me, to me, that's a red flag for a number of things. Some people say, well, I'm doing it to raise money or I'm doing it to do this. That's fine. That's fine.
Hmm.
But there's a thin line there that you better be watching. And
Yes.
and you need to understand that thin line between being an egocentric prick versus a humble servant. Because when you are servicing or doing charity, that is a humble act of service. And if you're spiritual,
Hmm.
if you're religiously minded, it goes into that giving out, giving oneself to others in a humble nature, not expecting anything in return. That means you might actually have people hit you if you're working at a nursing home, or
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there's going to be
I've
days.
seen some funny videos at nursing homes, and of course you hear some sad stories
Oh
about
yeah.
abuse and stuff, but
Hmm.
I've recently seen some funny videos. I'm like, wow,
Oh yeah. And
they be
honestly,
wilding out at the nursery homes.
oh, it's high school there, dude. Totally high school.
Hmm.
And just because someone gets older doesn't mean they're not viable. Let me say that. But it's a, to me, I like to serve in that area because of my grandparents, and I got to know a lot of these facilities, and I credit them a lot for that because I got to see them age, and I was there for a good portion of it, but I saw the end of life cycle. I saw them lose friends. I saw that, it's painful. It's a painful thing. And this is the other topic too that's related to all this, especially when we come to children and adults and so on, is that we
Hmm.
have a fear in our society of death. And
Yeah.
it triggers people. Their parents, and I'm saying this with love, whoever the hell they are, those parents and whatever generation those parents are from, doesn't matter. There's this overall fear of mortality, of death. And they don't like talking about it because then it acknowledges that they're mortal. Who knew?
Hmm.
And they will hide away, just as many the baby boomer generation was the one that began the nursing home thing, where parents, instead of dying at home with their families, were put into facilities. and over time it's
Hmm.
gotten worse and worse. Like you put your, it's like putting, it's like kind of like what they do in North Korea, where they take their undesirables and throw them out into a field or a camp.
Yeah.
They don't, you don't see a lot of elderly unless it's through association of family and stuff in the capital. Elderly are just not a common sight. You won't see a whole lot of elderly folks because they're useless to working or being viable unless it's a relationship to the party or whatever. It's very similar to some in some cases to China, but I don't know enough about that part. But anyway, uh, in our society, though, we do that in our own ways, where we hide away the elderly, we make fun of them. Um, we don't give them the credit due. We don't, no matter what generation they're from.
Hmm.
And there are plenty of assholes in every generation. That goes without being said. But the way that their parents, the greatest generation, the silent generation, the way those generations, I would say the greatest generation took the biggest hit for this, was being thrown into these nursing facilities. And I saw
Yeah.
this shit myself. And I saw nobody come to visit them at any time during the year. The only time you might see a family come to visit their relative was birthday, maybe, or Christmas or Easter, like whatever selected holiday they decide to show up. But throughout the year, they never saw their family members. And yes, I understand if you have a loved one who has Alzheimer's or forms of Parkinson's that were really severe, where they don't know who you are anymore, and it actually
Hmm.
causes them stress or distress with you being there. I understand that because I had someone in my family with Alzheimer's. So that you see this person you love completely go into another place and they don't remember you anymore. And it's the most,
Yeah.
it's ALS, all these different, anything neurological based where they start to lose, they have severe dementia. It's, it's a whole nother bracket of pain for that person and for yourself. And it's a very mixed feeling when you're watching them go down this, path. But anyway, but the way that we treat our elderly and the way that we treat death, life and death, people do not handle life and death, specifically death based discussion. They get uncomfortable. This is general. This comes from being around adults when I was young, and they always said the person passed away. They didn't elaborate. I was thinking, passed away, what the hell does that mean? Is this
Hmm.
code? And then you figure out what death is. Well, now because so many people had their children late in life, like let's say they're in their fucking late 60s, early 70s, and their kids are barely hitting 28. These
Yeah.
kids are going to be helping to caretake those adults. And it's not, and as somebody who had to do this, absolutely recommend it. If anybody out of the millennials decides they want to pop out a bunch of babies at 40, you better make sure you have more than one, and you better make sure they're not left alone. Okay?
Exactly.
Because that is the price that is paid. There are children, including myself, that were left behind with nobody. Nobody. Because everyone's dead. Okay? So it's the families that we make, obviously. I have my own family, and I have friends that are very close, like family. But family has a special meaning. It isn't going to go away because of society's belief systems and the culture war bullshit. In the end, we always go back to those we love, those who are related to us. There's an affiliate, there's an affinity to be around family in some way, even if it's a cousin. You know, it's different when you're around
Hmm.
family, isn't it? To me, it's like I met some cousins like earlier this year that I've never met before because
Yeah.
distance and time. But it was the first time I met them, and we acted very similar, and it was really weird. I was like, what the hell? And there's an age gap, obviously, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too crazy, but it was definitely like, holy shit, I'm related to these people. You know,
Yeah.
it's very different. And you're like, okay, that explains some stuff. But getting back to the topic, I get pissed about these simple things because people do not understand mortality, and I think that's affected the way that they view the world and their safety and the safety of others. They're so worried about censoring speech and petty bullshit. Even this transsexual shit is petty bullshit. Bitching because you
Hmm.
can't get laid. I'm sorry. Society is fucked. You're going to have to maneuver through it like everyone else, and bitching on the internet is not going to fix it. It's just a band aid to a broken arm. You know,
Yeah. You can't be mad because someone is not down to do anything with you. You can't say, oh, it's discrimination or they hate you because you're, a transgender. No, it has nothing to do with that. That person's just not into that.
Correct.
Find you someone that's into it, and you're good.
Right.
You can't just force yourself on somebody because oh they should be able to accept it. It's not that they don't accept your orientation. It's just that them personally aren't down with that. You
Correct.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't sit there. Oh, you're transphobic and all that. No, it has nothing to do with that. I'm just not into that.
Right.
You know, find you someone. There's plenty of people out there that don't care. That's into it. Cool. Find you someone that's into it. Do your thing.
And then and
Has
then
nothing. To,
it gets into that argument, right, where they're like, "Well,
hmm
I want my cake and eat it too." Well, I'm sorry.
No, you can't do that. No.
This is stuff that is based on the individual. You can't say
hmm
um, dating in general is not easy.
No.
It is the worst fucking thing ever. And you get a lot of trash. Okay, that
Yeah.
is dating in general. You get
Yeah.
trash, and then you
So,
get some good ones, and then you got people. You know what I mean? Like it's a mix.
if you go out there, if you're dating, let it be known, hey, I'm transgender.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people see that. Okay, no, I don't fuck with that. You do your thing, but I don't fuck with that. And you have people that's like, okay, cool.
Right.
That's what's
Because
up.
the truth is, like, I was talking to somebody, and we were having the talk about if I were, this is back in this scenario, if you're single, you're dating, and you
hmm
see a transgendered, female to male, and
hmm
they're transgendered, would you go on a date with them? And I said, well, yeah, I would if I found them attractive, meaning that there was something there, we had mutual interests, all the things that go into it. Yes, guess what? I have to be sexually attracted to the person that I'm going to date. That's just the way, that's number one. Because
hmm
I've gotten along with people really, really well, but we had nothing in common. Like, there was no
Yeah.
chemistry whatsoever. It sucked. It totally sucked. But,
hmm
and the same for them, I'm sure it was mutual. But we were really good friends. But we
hmm
never went there because it just wasn't there, you know? And we moved on. That's just the way it goes. But if you would you I give someone that opportunity? I myself would. I would give them that opportunity because it wouldn't bother me to that extent.
hmm
However, I would still keep in mind I need to know where they're at too emotionally. The transition process is not an easy one, and
hmm
it takes time. It's getting into that flow of life and figuring those things out. Now, the friend I was talking to, uh, she was like, I wouldn't. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you? And she goes, because I don't have that kind of tenacity to. I can't be that supportive. Meaning, I would find that
hmm
I wasn't giving them enough support. I would find that because there would be those trials that would come with it. Because for a lot of transgender, there is a huge. It takes a while to transition. It's not like a night and
hmm
day thing. So it's that emotional support she didn't think she could provide. She was like, I know
Yeah.
I would get sick of it. I would get sick of having to always be there. It'd be very one sided at some point or another, unless it's based on the individual. She's like, that's true. But my first ambition would be like, I don't want to deal with that baggage. And I was like,
hmm
I understand. I'm like, it's easier for us to say that, of course, because we're coming from the stance. But if somebody's propositioning you for a date or an invite to going out, it is up to your opinion, and you are entitled to. And it doesn't make you prejudice. It just makes
hmm
you. You're making a good call for your long term judgment there. Like.
Mhm.
It,
Well, I think it was somewhere recently. I heard that they're trying to pass a law. I don't know which state or where that to make it a law where they don't have to reveal that they're transgender. I'm like, okay, you're gonna set somebody up to get killed. You don't, you
yeah,
don't, you don't do that. You don't do that. People have gotten killed over that for not revealing
yeah,
that they were previously a man or previously whatever. People have gotten killed over that.
yeah.
You cannot mess with people's emotions when it comes to that.
No,
You
there
can't
needs to
do it.
be transparency. The
Yeah,
first and any
just be honest.
and this is the truth. And I've known people that transitioned and had a really hard time telling the partner they were with. And I said, listen, the
hmm
longer you let this go,
Yep.
oh my god, because it's about
hmm
trust. Okay,
Yes.
if this person's a prejudiced piece of shit, okay, no matter
hmm
how much you love them, if they're a prejudiced piece of shit, get it out in the beginning so that way you don't get your heart completely slaughtered, okay, or better yet,
hmm
yourself put into a position of being hurt. Um, physically or emotionally or whatever that is, but it's about transparency and just being courteous to your partner. So
Exactly.
that shit comes out, in my opinion. When should you tell someone? Well, from the first date.
From the first date, let them know right then and there. And if they're still cool with it, hey, you good. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
You're good to
So
go, you know?
yeah, and if you tell them, hey, I was trying, and they're like, no disrespect, I'm nothing against you. I'm just not into that.
Right.
Okay.
There you go.
But at least you can sit there and say, you know what, I told them up ahead of time. I didn't hide nothing from them. They knew right
Correct.
away.
And I understand there's a frustration to that because you're afraid to tell
Hmm.
someone. I completely understand that. I'm not sitting here going like an asshole, like, oh well, fuck you. No, that's not what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Um, it's just transparency, and that's the start of any good relationship. If you are lying to your partner from the first date, meaning
Hmm.
on the big stuff, not the little stupid petty crap, but I'm talking the big
Hmm.
stuff, especially your sexual identity.
Hmm.
Now, if it doesn't come up in conversation and you feel like how do I tell this person, there's a way to doing these things where it's about what are your feelings on X, Y, and Z, and that's how you start that conversation. It's on you. It's not the other person. They're not going to come right
Yeah.
out and ask you that because number one, it's rude, but also two, they may not know, and
Hmm.
you need to offer that to them so they understand, and they also need to understand where you're at in that process of transition. Because if you happen to go to bed with that person at any point
Hmm.
in the first like 4 months or 3 months or however long
Hmm.
you're in the beginning, and they find out you don't have the parts you claimed you did, they're
Then that takes it to a whole nother level. Yeah.
oh, and then there's hurt feelings. Then somebody could be hurt. I mean I
Hmm.
mean that's not you know that, like you said, people have gotten killed over that shit because when it
Hmm.
comes to sexuality is very animalistic. Okay, that goes back to our
Hmm.
roots of being tribalistic little caveman and women running around like nutcases. It's sexuality is a big part of that, uh, our nature. So if you did like a flipperoo, it's just like how it's just let's put it this, like you were talking about the first 48. It's just like those lovers that are scoring that kill their spouses over cheating and shit. That's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's the same thing.
Hmm.
It's that you touched my woman or you touched my man, and all of a sudden it's like you have Armageddon going on and shit and body parts. So it's the same thing. You just have to understand that human nature part is that there are going to be assholes. And if the person is prejudiced and they outright say, I don't want anything to do with that because X, Y, and Z, now you know that that person wouldn't be good for you no matter how long you waited. You know?
Hmm.
It's very simple
Yeah.
in that way, at least as far as weeding out. Now, as far as finding the right people who are open to that, there's quite a few. In my opinion, it's just like dating. It's a little harder, obviously, but um, I would say much harder in a sense being transgendered, but it's patience. And sometimes, just like with me, I dated a lot, but that didn't mean all of those people were like great fucking selections. A lot of them weren't men, they were just
Hmm.
boys. And I was looking for a man, and that's very different, when you're dating. So it's the same way for everyone. When you're dating, you're looking for a lady.
Hmm.
You're not looking for a little girl who wants to be, what do you call it? You're not looking for a codependent person, that's super
Yeah.
codependent. You want somebody who's at least independent, has some, life skills that won't like put herself in debt or get arrested or killed, over dumb shit. Um,
Hmm.
you don't want somebody who's going to be abusive. You don't want somebody who doesn't want children. Maybe that's what you want. Um, but it's uh, I recently the reoccurring theme. I don't know if you've had this. I'm actually going to ask you this because I was thinking about it earlier. Have you had
Hmm.
anybody try to lecture you about how to raise your kids or make what do you call it, insinuate advice, and they don't have children themselves?
You know, I can't honestly say honestly, and I'm being honest. Majority of people, I really haven't had that. Everybody's like, "Oh, you raise your girl so well, and you're doing a real good job." I haven't really had. I've been around situations like that
Yeah.
where it's like, "How are you gonna tell someone to raise? You ain't even got. Shut your ass up. You ain't even got no kids yourself."
Right.
So, but no, I personally, I haven't had nobody come to me and tell me how to raise my girls, or you know, dictate what I should do. Majority of the time, I've just heard compliments. Um, about
Mhm.
how I raise my girls. Um, but even if someone did, um, eh, they probably wouldn't like my reply. But no, I haven't heard like
I
nobody coming at me like
I've
that.
I personally have not um, for a long time. I'll say that. When I was younger, yes, because I was a younger female, so obviously I need to have people telling me what to do in their mind. But
Mm-hmm.
over since then, no. Every now and then, I'll have other parents, and this is something that is add on to that question. I've had parents quote try to give me advice, and their own children are a fucking mess. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Meaning they're into drugs, they're fucking, they're lying to their parents. The parents are their
Yep.
friends. They're friends with their
Yep.
children. They're not a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest mistake on this planet that you could possibly do with your kid is to be their fucking friend instead of their parent. Friendship comes later. And that's when they're out of the house, they have their own shit together. That is not when they still need to have a parent there to tell them to not be an ass. Um,
Exactly.
but I've had people, especially women, I've had that, you know, uh, people have tried, and I just, no, I shoot them down immediately. I'm like, no, no. Now, are you asking me to learn from your failures? Because that's what I've learned from you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's bitchy, but it's true. I think if my grandmother had said to me, and I said this to Stevie J when I spoke to him, my grandmother's greatest advice to me was learn from my mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't
Yeah.
say, look at my successes. She was like, look
Well,
at my failures. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
holy shit.
And the main reason why I didn't want nobody to talk because I've been around badass kids, and I'd be looking at the parents like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know. And
Right.
I told myself I had kids. I never had no badass kids.
No.
And so far so good. Yeah, because I've been around that where kids are just you know running rampant or doing whatever or just it's just like what the fuck.
Yeah.
I felt like pulling off my belt.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
no, you gonna listen to me. So no, I just vowed that my kids would never be no badass kids and people looking at me crazy. Kids running all over the place. No, I didn't want that because I couldn't deal with badass kids myself. So of course I didn't want any.
Right.
So it's just really how you. My thing is just um, pounded in them in their heads early. You know, not physically, but what I'm saying.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I set it. I set a standard early for them,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I just preached to them. I preached to them, preached to them. To now, they know what to do and what not to do. Now, are they teenagers? Yes.
Mhm.
Are they going to be doing teenager stuff? I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure. You know, it's just the severity of those teenage stuff things. They know the level of consequences for what they do.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, we're teenagers, but are we going to be teenagers and do things that are going to put us on dad's bad side or good, keep us in the good on the good side. So that's all it is, and it's basically learning because I know how I was when I was a teacher.
Mhm.
I was, I'm not saying I wasn't a bad kid or anything. I wasn't out there breaking the law or whatever, but I was a horny ass teenager.
Oh, yeah,
And when
absolutely,
when
right?
I when I got on the football team, realized how much ass I could get on the football team, I was like, oh yeah, okay, So
Mhm.
I learned from that, and I'm not being cocky or anything like that. I was this tall, I guess, good looking young man, and girls was digging that. You tell a girl, yeah, they ask you your height, you tell if it's anything over 6 foot, they're like, ooh wee.
Mhm.
It's just
Uh-huh.
it's a thing. So I'm telling they see me 6'5", and they're like, ooh, you a tall drink of water. So yeah, and that was one of, if I could go back in time and change that, that's one of the things I would change because when you had girls that was like on your jock like that, it made you cocky and it made me lose focus at times. And
Yeah.
oh man, I get this girl's number, I get this girl number. My mom had to change her phone number so many times because girls was just steady blowing up the house phone. So if I go back in time, I just like I think I would wait it longer to be really into, girls like that. But, I was young and
Mm-hmm.
hormones was through the roof. And when girls was like digging you, it makes you cocky. And it's just like, you know, so I learned from that and I just try to guide them the best I can. Um, but yeah, when it comes to I don't, I don't, I'm not going to tell a parent how to raise their kid.
Mm-mm.
Um, but I learned from what they're doing. I'm like, I ain't gonna be doing that, or yeah, my kids ain't gonna be doing that. I'll learn from that. But no, I don't think I'm in the right place unless it's a situation where a child's in danger or
Yeah.
something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Other than that, it's not my place to. No matter if I have kids or not, it's not my place to tell you how to raise your kids.
Yeah.
My each kid has different personalities, so you gotta. My mom dealt with us differently. Me and my brothers, each of us had different personalities. So she came approached us in different ways
Right. Mm-hmm.
based on our personalities. So,
I
you
think
know, no,
I think what's interesting is because like I've talked to a lot of um, I put it in quotes nephews like that. They're my friends' eldest sons and some of their daughters, and especially when they go through that stage. I would say it starts in your teens and it goes through young adulthood to a point, like early adulthood, young adulthood,
mm,
excuse me, where they are clashing with their parents a lot. They're having a lot more fights because of rebellion, whether that's on the
yeah,
kid's side,
yeah,
maybe the mother can't let go, maybe dad has become more aggressive because the son is maybe over his height, you know what I'm saying? So it starts to
hmm
become all intimidation bullshit. And, I've talked to the boys several times. I've talked to more boys than girls because more people I know have boys. And I never criticized what do you say? I never talk shit about a parent because
hmm
the truth is that there is no handbook. Okay, no matter even if I don't truly like the parent. Okay, and I'm being honest. There's been a couple parents that I was like, this bitch is out of control. But I don't ever talk shit about the parent to the kid because that's not going to. That's still their parent. They're
hmm
gonna be maternally. Even if that parent is a complete asshole to them, they have to see it themselves. I can't tell them that that's not my place. They have to see it themselves. But what I do is I'll put it in perspective. I'm like, okay, what did you do? And then what did they do?
exactly.
And then I do acknowledge
Yeah.
if the parent did something wrong, but at the same time, I'm like, listen, you need to talk to them. You need to have that conversation. And it does that in the end, that's what rectifies those situations. But one of the things I've noticed a recurring theme with, especially, it's usually between mothers and sons because a lot of it is single parents. Okay.
hmm
And I've had to explain to the son, I'm like, listen, she's trying to play both roles. That's not possible. Okay?
Yeah.
She can only be herself as a mother and then be like super mom. Does that make sense?
hmm
There is no her playing dad's role because that's a very different dynamic with a male. Okay?
hmm
She can't replace that role, but what she can do is be like the better, like, I don't know, power parent, super mom, because, and that's a really hard role to fill as well, but because she's trying to, like you were saying in your situation, mine too, is that they're trying to accommodate for that missing parent or that role. Do you
hmm
remember the first time you realized that an adult lies to you?
Um. Yeah. I and it's not that my mom was doing it to just lie. She did it to protect us, and it was basically, I remember when we got evicted, and my mom was just like, "Oh, we're just gonna go. I got a hotel for us. We're just gonna stay there for a while, just kind of get away from home." Just some, to that extent where
Mm-hmm.
we lived out of a hotel for a while, so but she didn't want us to feel like, oh no, we got evicted. What are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
you know, she just said, "Oh, we're just gonna, stay in a hotel, have some family time, and we're gonna move into get a better place." So stuff like that. That looking back at it now, hindsight be what it is, I fully understand why my my mom did that.
Right.
You know, and there's
And
times I did it. I said it to. I talked to my girls in that manner, like, you know, um, had them something bad happen, and I didn't want to get too much in detail with it with them, so
Mm-hmm.
I tried to clean it up as much as possible so they wouldn't really be thinking about it. Um, I
It's
think when it comes to that is different from telling your child that you're gonna be at their game
mm-hmm.
or their
Mm-hmm.
recital or something, knowing damn well you ain't gonna do it, or you'd rather be at the casino or something like that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It
Mm-hmm.
totally different scenarios. But yeah, I remember my mom doing that sometimes, but I now being an adult, I understand why she did it.
Right. And it's a lot of it is, they don't want their children to, you don't want your kids to freak out. You don't want them to be stressed. You don't want them to carry the burden that you're supposed to be carrying, right, as a parent.
Hmm.
Um, and in those situations, I do understand. But it
Hmm.
was, for me, when I first started realizing that adults were lying, it was about appearances. It was, and meaning like things were a certain way at home and how bad it was behind a closed door, but yet I was supposed to behave a different way in front of the public eye.
Hmm.
And that is,
Hmm.
and when you learn about, and I found that to be pretty evil in a lot of ways because it was, you're putting on a persona and performing on cue, so that way it's comfortable for other people. And
Yeah.
and that's bullshit. Because if something terrible is happening at home, that child should be able to go to another adult and have them listen. But I think with I will say this in a loving way. I think with the boomer generation that is not the case. They were still coming out of don't ask, don't tell, and also coming out of the well, if the priest is molesting the kids, as long as we don't know about it, you know, this shit didn't just
Hmm.
show up and suddenly people cared about it. This stuff's been going on a long time. So it's this mentality of hidden secrets that I've always hated in families, and and it's mine has its own crap, but everyone does, in my opinion. We all have family drama or whatever it is. You know what I mean? There's like stuff going on one side of the family and blah blah blah. It's over crap that he had nothing to do with us as kids, but it definitely had more to do with the adults. But it's indirectly you're punishing the kids on behalf of the adults. So it's kind of like that phrase. Like I was talking with someone. Um, Geez, last year we had a really good, interesting conversation because the question is, and I'll ask you this, and this is across the board. This question: do
Yeah.
you think that society punishes children for the sins of their parents?
I think in a sense, yeah. Um, yeah, I would say so, to an extent. Just look at the way society is, like, just in general. I think and I think that's probably a reason why society's so quote unquote sensitive now.
Mm-hmm.
Has a lot to do with that. Um, and that's just a touchy subject because you're gonna have people defending
Mm-hmm.
the way society is now, and me and you, the era we grew up in, it's almost like night and day.
I
And I'm
I
sorry, go ahead.
I think that my answer on this was yes, I do believe so
Hmm.
very strongly, and because generationally, obviously, it's changed and things like that. But I do believe that children are punished for the sins of their parents
Hmm.
all the time, and whether we realize it or not. And um, there was stuff like I pay attention. I was around adults all the time, so I was watching and listening and being a little eavesdropper. Because guess what? I was the only kid. Most situation, I was the only kid there, so I was hearing and seeing like the truth about different shit that was going down or dramas in the family or secrets that were trying to be tucked away and indiscretions from the past that had nothing to do with me but that yet I was being thrown into without my knowledge. And that's the curious thing, and I didn't believe that for a while that was a true statement until I started to really
Hmm.
pay attention. I thought back on childhood, I remembered all those things and I saw where it led up to, the end results and the behavior of other people, of how they interacted with that. I do believe that parents can, not all, this is going to grandparents, this is going to great grandparents, this is going down the line. I would say family, paying for the sins of the family. But parents are always the direct link. So things that funnel through the other family goes through that adult down to the child. And unfortunately, it is the case. I do think whether it's preparing your kids for the world and failing to do so, your job as a parent is to prepare your kids to be like so I repeat it a lot because it's the truth. Is that your job as a parent, no matter who the hell you are, is to make sure that your kids will be able to survive in this world when you are dead, and you will die. We are all mortal, And the shocker, and death is something that should be understood. And death is not depending on the manner of death, of course, is very tragic. But the truth is that's a learning. That is a lesson. The two greatest events in someone's life are life and death. Everything in between is the stories that you fill your life with, and for some it's a very short window, and for others it's a large window filled with bullshit, and they don't have much quality of life to fill that gap with. So if when I worked in hospice, dude, I saw so many situations of regret.
Yeah.
I honestly cannot tell you, and I didn't know if I was going to handle hospice well, and I've always said that because I really didn't know how I was going to handle it. I did really well, more so than I thought, and I think it's because I understood these things because of my, being around my grandparents and being around older, older people growing up, was understanding that process of losing friends and losing family, disconnecting, having family arguments, kids fighting, shit like that, drama. But no one has a functional family. Everyone has a little bit of dysfunction in it. So when you get to that end of life, it's like all of that's the accumulation of all of their things in a lifetime. And people have to understand that death isn't in that situation, especially if they're in hospice or in a nursing facility or they're struggling with some illness. This is the accumulation of that life lived. And if you understand not just what they're dying from, okay, that's the symptom to the disease, okay? Um,
Hmm.
there's an accumulation of experience, there's an accumulation of things that have happened in that person's life, and it's looking at a very broad painting when you're sitting there talking to someone who is on, they've been in hospice, and that usually is indication they're given a year or less to live, and that's why they're in hospice. And hell, people live forever, sometimes in hospice, okay? So
Yeah.
it's not an inclination to death itself, but it is definitely, it makes people uncomfortable to talk about death in general. And I don't have a problem with it at all. I get sick of like the blood, gore crap. To me, that's not my thing. But when it comes to that process of someone going into the last stage of the twilight years, whatever the hell they call them, um, it's a very different experience sitting down with somebody who has so much to tell you. And regret is
Hmm.
the biggest one. They look back on how their kids were raised and they'll say, I don't know why my kids are this way. And then we'll talk about it and it comes full circle and they're like, yeah, I know why they're like this.
Yeah.
It's because I didn't, I wasn't parenting them. In some cases, that's a big one, meaning they were so busy doing other things that they just stopped parenting their kids, at some point, or they became their kid's friend, or they didn't talk to their children. That's a big one. And I always,
Hmm.
reinforce the communication thing. I think when we talk about our kids, you talk to your daughters, like you have conversations with them about numerous things. It's not just school, it's not just the day to day crap, but it's actual conversations about stuff,
Yeah.
that's important. Life skills, experiences. I mean, when they lost their grandmother, um,
Hmm.
that affects kids. My son lost his grandmother as well. That's one thing you and I, which was very odd, we both share. Um, because it was different times in life. It was just things are very
Yeah.
funny in that way. The world is connected, but I lost my mother, and I had to walk my son through this process because he had been there when she actually had her issue where she collapsed, and it was very fast. It was unexpected, and it wasn't um, by any means there was no signs to this happening. And so I had to sit and walk him through this and help him grieve, but at the same time, he needed time to process it. So it's like with understanding death is to understand human nature. It's to understand how we
Hmm.
adapt to those things. And with children, especially with children, they're very sensitive and they're very observant and they do pay attention. And that's one thing I have had to tell adults about their kids. I'm like, your kids are paying it. They're not dumb by any means. Children are, I would argue, children are some of the most enlightening perspectives that you can get about other people.
Yep,
And when
that
it,
is true.
I mean, you ask your kids, well, what do you think of this, right? And all of a sudden they're like, well, I like this and this, but that person seems a little off. And you're like,
They're
huh,
they're very truthful. When they're
absolutely.
especially when they're younger, yeah, tell on you and everything.
Oh yeah, and the thing is that kids are very sharp in so many ways, and they are in a lot of ways a great, in my opinion, a great filter of taking a step back and saying, oh, what do you think? What are you thinking about this? You know, and or what are you feeling
Hmm.
about this, or what is your opinion? And and
Yeah.
sometimes like my son would say stuff, and I'm like, huh, I'm glad you picked that up. It's like, thank God I know that you know what I mean? You teach them these little tools, like you were saying. You give them your daughters, the tools, and the other girls, but you can only hope that they utilize those tools. And it does start um, from a very young age of them being
Hmm.
perspective. Like they know when somebody divorces, they know when someone has died, and having the conversation about death is, I think, communication is something that absolutely, I think, would have uh, helped me as a young person, having being able to talk more. I mean, I was able to talk pretty freely to a point, but it was being
Hmm.
listened to that was the hard part, apparently. So, uh, being treated as what do you call it? That my opinion mattered as a child. So it's like that. I had some really good adults that did listen and we communicated. But with children, it's like I think the way that our society is, especially with life and death, that is, there was an article that came out. I was talking to you earlier about it. Absolutely pissed me off. It was talking about a Good Morning Britain. They had some commentators on the show uh, early morning. Kind of like a debate. It was with Sir Michael Wilshaw and a younger reality star, Freddie. Okay, who the context of the debate was discussing. He said whether, the question was posed was whether millennials need to know about World War II after a contestant on The Apprentice over there in the UK failed to recall what even happened with the war. And uh, this young man, Freddie, who
Hmm.
I honestly, I don't know what to say. But anyway, I'm holding back. He basically was arguing that learning about World War II was not good for mental health, and that he said, because this young man, he is at 22, he says, quote, I don't think it needs to be put in such a way to young people and young children mentally in their mental health to be told this certain amount of people died for you. Mental health is completely on the rise now. I don't think encouraging death and telling people how many people died in a world war is going to help someone in the future.
Yeah. That
um And
that.
this young man went on to say
Mhm.
they need to be more concerned about more relevant topics that should be taught in school, like how to save for a mortgage and climate change. He said instead of focusing so much on history and holding on to the past, we can let it go a little bit and replace it with a subject that is going to be beneficial to us in the future.
The whole point is
Mm,
learning about history is that we don't repeat it. That's supposed to be what it is. You don't repeat history,
mm-hmm.
and you learn from your mistakes. Um, there should be no reason why um, kids don't learn about World War II,
Mm-hmm.
or the Holocaust or slavery. These are major events that took place that affected society during that time.
Absolutely. I mean,
So, go ahead.
go no, it blew my mind when I did
Hmm.
listen to the actual footage. I did not believe it at first. I was like, what the hell? And I understand what he's trying to say, but he still
Mhm.
sounds like an idiot. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to call that. I'm sorry. Let me say it more, like proper for the intellectuals. He sounds like needs to be he's been misinformed and needs to be reinformed about the reality of the world. That
Mhm.
that's all I'm saying. Like this young man does not have a clue. And it's
Yeah.
I'm not saying I understand the exploitation that war can do. Like with the glorification of World War II is, I mean, we all know about it. I absolutely. But you need to understand why and how did we get to World War II from World War One, and why is that important? And it's understanding that connection of history, which we weren't even really truly taught in school. And the way they treat history already is history is written by the winners. So you have to go looking for this information so we don't repeat this shit again. It's just like the arguments about the Civil War here in the United States and about Confederate monuments and all this other shit. It's this need to pretend that everyone's evil that was Confederate. Everybody that lived in those states was evil, right? And that everyone associated with the Civil War was, that unless they were of the Union, they were evil. What the people need to understand is both sides were evil. um, during
Mhm.
in their own ways. But there was a lot of people that got drug into the Confederacy side. So you can't sit here and say this side is evil absolute and this side was good absolute. Everybody was. It takes two sides to go to war, and both sides were wrong in their own ways. It was never, unfortunately, about slavery until it was about tactical means. Well, how do we disable the South? We take away slavery. That's the scariest part of that. Is it had nothing to do with the actual moral and ethical ramifications of slavery from the beginning. It was something that was thrown in later. And that's fucking the truth, and it's evil. It's never slavery was outdated well before that, but they didn't do anything
Yeah.
about it until they got a benefit out of it in a fucking war.
Mhm.
That's the truth. That's I mean, I know Lincoln didn't he did not like slavery, but he also knew he wouldn't have a chance of getting it uh, banished unless it was in a strategic way, and he knew that, and that's why he was glad for it. I mean, at least he has that legacy. But at the same time, there was evil on both sides, and there was good on both sides. And in the end, the people that died in the Confederate side were still Americans. So these are our fellow citizens. I mean, I couldn't imagine being in my own home being said, well, this is what we're going to do to you unless you do X, Y, and Z. I'd be like, well, dude, I can't afford to move. I'm poor. You know, I mean, I can't leave my land. I can't leave my family home. That's how people were
Yeah.
getting screwed. And you could only play, and that's all political shit too. So it's very similar to what we see now. But
Yeah.
there are no winners in war either. Despite whoever side won, there are look at all the families that absolute generations wiped out with that, and it's made of that's so significant to this day. We still have scars in this country from that war. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, why would we still have scars if that wasn't a I mean, the amount of people that died in the Civil War bypassed anything possible. It was one of those things where World War One, when that came into play, we didn't. The survivors of the Civil War were like, "No, we're not going to no World War. You know, you're not sending my kids to a war. We just had one. You know, because you still had veterans of the Civil War that were alive when World War One started. They didn't want us to be there, and that's why we went late to the war. We showed up late into that war. I think we were there maybe a year less than that. I don't know when the Americans joined. Um, but these things we learn generationally the warning signs of what not to repeat, and that's why it's so important to have those voices. But when you have kids like this young man who are like, "Oh, history is not that important. We should be talking about climate change." Well, how the fuck do you think we're in the situation with the climate? Do you think that just kind of happened yesterday? Or do you think it's because of polar bears and all this other shit? No. It's historically related, you fucking idiot. Like, this stuff is why do we go to war? Oh, oil. So, yeah, there's the cycle for you.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's in a nutshell. We live in a semi-crazy society, depending on from whose viewpoint it is. And as parents and as people, it's something to learn every day. We can all learn to be more respectful of each other and just be more there for each other instead of all this craziness.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
Spread the love and less hate and all that. So it's it's oh, I my hope is that we can get out of this
Mhm.
period into just more of a happy settling period. I hope the energies, bring that positiveness to
Yeah.
everybody. So
You kind of hope
yeah, yeah.
you hope that people come to a place where they're like, okay, like this isn't a good
Mhm,
situation, and things need to change. And I do think we do have a new rebellion, and
mhm,
the reason, I, the reason why I labeled this conversation that is because there is so much of this social engineering that's being shoved
mhm,
at us as Americans and as pop culture to just societal rules. All of a sudden, we have rules of engagement, and everything is a double standard. There's a lot of hypocrisy, and if you're not with us, you're against us. That kind of bullshit. And historically, that's never worked out.
no, no,
Never
never
has.
has it.
And
No.
uh, I remember when we were kids, it wasn't about labeling. Remember, we were coming out of that phase of, at least for me,
Mhm.
was coming out of that phase of labeling people according to skin color. So
Yeah,
it was about equality.
yeah.
And
Um,
so equal rights for women, equal rights for men, that kind of shit. And equal rights for
mhm,
African Americans, Native Americans,
mhm,
whoever the hell you are, we're all equal. We're going to be on the equal, we're all on the equal ground together. We're all going to stand together. And now it's
mhm,
like I haven't heard the word equality in ages. Like they have now, it's diversity.
mhm.
And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this like, it's different?
It's whatever agenda is going on behind the scenes. It's like there's this push for a civil war of some type. And it's just crazy what's going on. Um, you see it all the time on the news and everything, and it's already tough, as a person of color growing up in this country and being raised in this country and have to go through what are the obstacles that are set out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're born into it, especially a person of color. It's like the obstacles are already there. You haven't even had time to train or anything. It's just like here you go,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what my mom prepared me and my brothers for, and it's what I have to prepare my daughters for, and that's what makes it suck even more and hurt more. Is that this is something I still have to, like, my daughters have to be prepped for it.
Yeah.
It's 2019, and it's still like I got to teach them things and guide them the way my mom guided us.
And that is
And
a
it
heartbreaking part
yeah,
because you really
it
do
is.
think that you're better than
Mhm.
this. And you think that we're
Mhm.
better. Everyone's better than this. And now we've
Mhm.
gone, like you said earlier in the conversation, we're going in reverse.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and you have, and like I was reading about, this was months ago, about the university. There's some university students in several different states that are, black students are asking to be segregated.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah. And because of what's been going on so recently, it's like now they're thinking like, well, do we need to be segregated again? Because it's like, man, this is getting out of hand. This is wild now. So it's like, and it's sad that it's like reverting back to that. It's like now people feel like, well, let's just segregate because this stuff is wilding out and all that. It just sucks. Like now, it's not like racism went away when I was a kid. No, it was
no.
there.
Mm-hmm.
I dealt with it. I think now it's just like with social media and everything now, and the media, you know, doing their thing and putting it out there and like kind of pushing it out there. And it's like, everybody has a phone nowadays, so they're recording stuff and all this stuff going on. Like I said, my daughters are literally scared if I get pulled over, I'm gonna get shot. I talked to them about it,
Mm,
but that they fear that's what's gonna happen. That's what's happened. It's so
dude,
bad now where my daughters are like, please don't get pulled over, Dad.
See, this, like, when my daughter, this was last year.
Mhm.
And every now and then I still have to do this with her because she's aware. She's like your daughters.
Yeah.
They think. I almost want to say they
Mhm.
overthink, but they think, which is they get too. I think it's the fear of the mongering and the bullshit. My
Yeah.
daughter came home from school and she was very upset, and I was like, okay. And then Squirrel and I had to sit down with her because she was convinced that Trump was going to come and take her.
Mhm.
Um, she thought, because of what was being said at school by this particular teacher, that Trump hates all Hispanics um,
Mhm.
and Latinas, that he was going to
Mhm.
round them up and send them back over. And it was like she had a legitimate fear. And
Mhm.
and it was a fear that I did not want to see in my kid. And I looked at
Yeah.
her and I was like, listen, that is not going to happen. I said, because you're illegal.
Mhm.
Well, number one, I said, you're an American citizen. Okay.
Mhm.
And two, if you're an American citizen, it doesn't matter what color of skin you are. Okay.
Mhm.
But also, two, that won't happen about concentration camps. I said, there are people who willingly put themselves in camps. To this day, there are people who
Mhm.
willingly put themselves into camps, whether that's a ghetto, okay,
Mhm.
in a bad place, part of whatever major city, or a reservation. There are still camps out there. And I said,
Mhm.
they are, but they are, and I had to like bring this down a little bit so she understood. But I said, people, if you think a certain way because you're told and it's embedded in you and you're being policed by this thought, I said, that's what puts you in a camp. Okay,
Yeah.
all these people on the DNC side, with the extremist left, I'll say with the extremist left, they're in a camp right now. Okay, just like the extremist right is
Mhm.
in a camp. They're in their own concentration camps in their minds, where
Mhm.
everything is a certain way. You have to police language, you have to pump fear, and it feeds into the fear within the population that there
Mhm.
are is racism there. Absolutely, and by human nature, people are going to be frightened of things that are different than them. That is a guarantee. So that means no matter how much fucking civil rights stuff is out there, no matter how many laws or hate speech legislation that's out there, you're always going to have assholes that are going to be like, I don't want to talk to that person because they're this color skin
Yeah.
or because they're fucking
Especially,
mixed,
especially if they come if it's passed down, if
Mm-hmm.
it's a generational, if it's passed down generation to generation, they're not going to change up. It has to take someone in that family and say, you know what, no more,
Right,
no more. We're not going to do this no more.
right.
No.
No, like
So,
it is absolutely handed down generationally,
mm-hmm.
and like thank God, I'll say this, thank God that it's understood at young ages with kids, especially like with my daughter. She's
Mm-hmm.
mixed, and has she gotten shit for looking really white? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, I used to get shit because I didn't look 100% white,
Mm-hmm.
and I still get shit for it. Like I look mixed, or they call you passing, or whatever the little mulatto. Those words when they use those words, and
Mm-hmm.
it pisses me off. I'm like, so we're gonna dumb down everybody based on the color of their skin because that makes fucking sense. We need to segregate based on the color of your. We are going back in time. Like this shit is the segregation and all this stuff being called for safe spaces, right? I'm like, life is not a goddamn safe space, people. And if you want a safe
Mm-hmm.
space, the reality is you're not going to get one. You make your own safe space, man. You go home, you shut your door, and say, I don't need to deal with this shit. Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody wants to judge you on the color of your skin, they're going to be doing that regardless to how they're punished. What are you
Yeah.
going to do? Put them in prison? That'll work. That'll really work on that racism. I'll tell you what. Put them in prison. See how that
Yeah.
works.
If it's embedded in somebody,
Mm,
you could try to change your mind till your face turns blue.
mm-hmm.
In the end, it's up to them whether they're going to make that choice to say, you know what, I can't be doing. Why am I hating this person? Because like, no, this doesn't make sense. Kids are the prime example. Unless they're taught that stuff,
Yeah.
you kids will play with whoever. We get two little kids playing. They don't care about color. They're
No.
gonna play.
No,
They're gonna
it's
play.
exactly like my
But if you're a
daughter.
parent that says, no, 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 you come over, I don't want you playing with, then that's when where it starts.
And the thing is like my because of the Trump thing, and which was
Hmm.
fucking terrible. Um, because I had to explain to her, no, that isn't going to happen. And believe me, if that day ever did come for whatever reason, let's just say somebody, it got wild. Okay, let's just say it went
Mhm.
off the rails, and for whatever reason, that's exactly the direction it was going. And I said, make no mistake, that wouldn't happen here. I said,
Yeah.
just so you know, and that's a promise. Like I absolutely have zero tolerance for that shit.
Mhm.
Um, but like she didn't understand what an African American was, even
Mhm.
though her best friend and three other of her friends are like they're mixed, so they're African mixed with Hispanic. We have a
Mhm.
very big diverse plate here, so it's like, nobody's 100% anything, and you know what I mean. It's all,
Mhm.
if you're looking cosmetically, yeah, okay, that person is really dark, but they're from different parts of Mexico, right? Or they're mixed with Africans, and then some
Mhm.
African American. It's very different, but she didn't know
Yeah.
what that word meant. She didn't know what African American meant or the word black. And like she didn't get that these were definitions. And
Mhm.
I had to explain this shit to her. And I'm like, well, this is what it means. And she, and this is the thing. It's like, she was like, oh, whatever. I'm like, exactly, whatever. That's the reaction I want. Yeah. Like, this isn't,
Yeah.
people are the ones that establish racism through their kids, and it is handed down, and it is stuff that's also taught through other children. So it's like having to learn that counterance. And is there forms of racism? Absolutely. And that should be
Mhm.
acknowledged, because that's like lying.
Exactly.
That's lying. Don't lie to your
Yeah.
kids. There's forms of racism, just don't teach them racism. And also
Exactly.
don't teach them white guilt either, you know.
I
Um,
I just tell my kids to, treat others the way you want to be treated. You know what I'm saying? And they've dealt their fair share of racism and being called out of their names and stuff like that. And
mm,
I can't, as much as I want to crack some kid's jaw for it, I can't, because I go to jail. But I talk to them and have those conversations with them and all that. So it's still tough because you don't want them to deal with it. It's like you just want them to be kids and 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 enjoy being kids.
mhm,
But they got to deal with that, and it's just tough when they come home and they tell you this happened. So they've had their fair share dealing with that, but at the same time, they're strong girls and they're okay. They know how to handle it. Um,
mhm,
as long as nobody's putting hands on them or whatever and all that, they're in the end of the day, um, their words, they're hurtful words, but they're
mhm.
words. And I just told them as long as no one's putting hands on you, just tune them out. Because this day and age, if they would put you know, they would get expelled or they would get suspended, even though that person, quote unquote, started the whole mess. The way kids get punished now it's just ridiculous. As far as like if you're defending yourself,
Right.
a lot of times you get in more trouble. And the kids getting bullied and stuff. That's a big no-no because I don't tolerate that. Like, nah, you ain't gonna be bullying my kids. And just in general,
Yeah.
like, nah,
Would you say that bullying has gotten worse in general?
it sure does seem like it. It sure does seem like it. The kid, was it a month ago or whatever that got killed? It was in California that got punched out by a kid and hit his head on the concrete and died.
Yeah.
He was like 13 or something like that. There was another girl in Texas that died after, and the thing about what pisses me off is that what is the first thing kids do when they see a fight now? They'll break out their phones and be
Uh huh.
recording. You could be sitting there getting shanked, and kids are like, "Oh, let me put this on World Star." That's the
Mhm.
first thing they think of. Nobody there helping, and it didn't used to be like that.
Right.
If I if some situation I'm getting, my boys see me like getting jumped, they're gonna jump right in like, "What's up?"
Mhm.
Or whatever. They're not just gonna be sitting there recording like, "Oh man." But now, yeah, kid got stabbed to death over a girl,
Mhm.
and it was like surrounded by kids, and the first thing they did was break out their phones.
Yep.
That's what society is now.
It's
And
the
I could just imagine like some kids like trying to start a fight with my kids, or put hands on them. Kids are gonna just break out the phones and record it.
right. Mhm. I mean, it's a
And,
it's amazing to me that that's the first reaction is
hmm
to video. It's kind of like going down the freeway seeing a car accident rubbernecking. That's really what it is. Instead of doing
Yeah,
something, you're going to let someone bleed out. Remember how like Princess Diana got in that accident and they were
yeah.
blaming the people to stand there watching her die. Um
hmm
that's the same narcissistic quality of human there's a lack of human empathy. So when you start to
hmm
dehumanize one another based on, let's say, color of skin or,
hmm
let's say, religion,
hmm
sexuality, whatever, that's when you see this behavior get like worse and worse and worse. And the bullying thing, I think the reason why I asked that question is because I do feel like I know for your daughters and for my kids, it has increased. Um,
hmm
is it because of their race? Is it because of just they're smarter, or they're stronger, they look a certain way, it's their gender, whatever the hell it is? It's everything. I think it's
hmm
just people are so quick to go after the slightest bit of something to better themselves or to make themselves feel better, like as kids or as an adults. I mean, the adults are bullying each other. I mean, look at
Yeah.
this outrage culture, this calling out nature. Like people are calling each other out all the time for behavior.
hmm
And it blows my mind because I'm like, so if you bitch loud enough because you're the squeaky wheel, you think that that's going to be justified because that's what you had when you were a kid? Or you think that that's just the way it's going to work? And sometimes
I,
it works, sometimes it
I
works.
I tell you what, the times that kids were threatening my daughters, and we had a meeting with the parents that stopped. As soon as they see me walk up in there, they're like, "Oh shit!" Like,
Mm hmm.
"Oh, yeah, we ain't gonna be fucking with their kids. Nah, we good." Like that's how it is. Like, all right, and I one time I told a kid in front of him, "I'll beat your dad's ass in front of you. I'll show you what bullying is about. Make touch my daughter. I will beat your dad's ass in front of you." And he didn't say nothing. He was just sitting there looking crazy. Like, son, please, or don't have him beat my ass in front of you.
Well, it's
Like, I don't play with that. Like,
no.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I have no problem knocking out somebody's parents just to prove a point.
And then the
You
truth
know.
is that a lot of it does come from the parents. This behavior, this language. There's a lot of people that throw out words they think it's funny and it's cute, and that's fine. Words are words, but it's very different when you have a child, like you're saying, with bullying, calling names towards your own kids, and physically trying to do harm to them. That's where it becomes, uh, an act of hate.
Yeah, I don't play with that. You put a 10-hit combo on their parents, they're gonna be sitting there looking crazy. I don't play with the bullying.
And and let's
I don't.
and let's say for the sake of argument, tomorrow, Rich, they made certain words on a hate speech list, and if anyone says those words, then someone's in trouble. Do you think that
Mhm.
that's going to stop quote hate speech? Let's say
No,
name
I
calling,
mean,
whatever.
no. Like if that's the case, then people wouldn't be breaking laws in general. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If people are gonna do it no matter what.
Mhm.
You're taught, you know, what to, you can't say this word or how disrespectful this word is, and people still say it. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. You know, they don't.
No.
So no matter, you could put a million new words in there, and people are still gonna do it. They're still gonna say it.
Mhm. It's true.
Um, so my thing is, fortunately, I've been genetically gifted where I haven't had many people bully me or try to bully me or get up in my face and talk shit. So, um, I thank my parents for that, for giving birth to a genetic freak of a son. But, you can only do what you can do on your end as a parent as far as teaching your kids to be respectful, and it's hard because as a parent you want to be able to protect them
Yeah.
all the time, and it's stuff they're going to have to deal with on their own. Certain situations
Mhm.
they're going to have to deal with it. Is we can't just sit up in a class all day and walk, just hang out with them all day at school. Hey, make sure nobody messes with them. As much as you want to protect them and not have them deal with that, they're
Right.
going to deal with it. You know,
And the
no matter
truth.
what. You could be the nicest kid at school and not have. There's going to be someone to sit there and push those buttons.
And the truth is, like, there, as a parent, the thing that parents need to understand is that there are going to be things in this world that will hurt your children that you cannot control.
Exactly.
And that is the hardest, it's the most difficult thing to realize as a
Yeah,
parent. It really is. It's hard.
because you're so protective. You want to put this wall of protection around them,
Mhm.
but you can't. As much as you want to, as much as it just knowing that they're gonna deal with some shit, and you're just like, fuck, there's nothing I could do about it.
Right.
You can only prep them as much as you can, and hope that it the end result isn't that severe. Whatever it is.
Right.
Um, but as long as you're doing your part as a parent and prepping them as much as you can, um, and you could prep them as much as you can, but once they get out there, it's kind of like driving. You could take a driving test or whatever, a written test or whatever,
Mhm.
unless you're actually out there driving, get a feel for it. It's not the same.
Correct.
So you just try to hope, or you just hope that they absorb what you've tried to instill in them,
Mhm.
and they put that in their everyday life, and um, but yeah, as far as wanting to protect them, of course, every parent just about feels they want to have that wall of protection, don't want nothing to happen to their babies.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but in the reality is, in the real world, things will happen. They'll have obstacles they have to overcome themselves, challenges they'll have to overcome themselves. So you could just try to guide them as
Mhm.
much, like Morpheus said to Neo. He's like, I could show you the door, you have to open it or go through it or whatever.
Right.
So
And it's
you
true.
could, as long as you do that part as a parent, um, things should be okay for the most part.
Right. And and in the end, there's there's a lot of ways that people do get better, over
Hmm.
time with, and it's adaptation, and those things do happen. There's fortitude that's taught, and sometimes it does come from hardship. And I don't see hardship as it sucks at the time. Don't get me wrong, but it builds
Hmm.
character, and it is absolutely true to people who grew up during the Depression, who went without food or had to drop out of school at a young age, or um, had to hide money or hide silver and gold from their government to have some kind of, I guess, economic stability in a time where so many different groups were targeted, whether that was immigrants or just the poor. I
Hmm.
mean, there's a lot of things that were going on then that built character. And even though they were difficult and it left like PTSD like symptoms over time, um,
Hmm.
they were better people because of those hardships. And maybe there's bad and good that do come from that, but hardships are not without their scars. And I think that those things shouldn't necessarily be like, oh, well, we don't want that. And I think there's a lot of people in this world that could probably, miss a meal or two, or not buy that television set that's $600, or buy that new
Hmm.
iPad that they don't fucking need. I
Hmm.
think that we've been spoiled and we're very gluttonous as a society.
Hmm.
So to go without, I have no problem doing that myself. I mean, I have my things and my quirks and shit like anybody else, but I have no problem letting go of a lot of things. It's like if somebody walked into our home, they'd be like, "Well, why don't you have a giant TV or have a TV?
Hmm.
Why don't you have this? Because it's not needed.
Hmm.
If it's needed, I don't know what the fuck you need it for. It's a want, and no matter how much money one has, it's about the prioritization of what's more important: material wealth or moving forward. And I'd rather move forward. And I think that also
Hmm.
goes to owning a home or having the nicest car. It's about what's economically sound. and suitable, and going without is not a bad thing. Being lonely is not a bad thing. Being bored is not a bad thing. Boredom is a state of mind that it's just like you have to be constantly entertained. Um, so we're at a point in our culture where the call, I think, is to grow up. People need to grow up. They need to come full circle and take responsibility for themselves and have accountability for themselves, have accountability for their children, and do not expect others. That includes your village to raise your child, the government to raise your child, or the school to raise your child. The most important thing
Mhm.
is that you take accountability for your own fucking shit instead of waiting for someone else to hold your hand and walk you along and say, well, I'll help you do this. So we're hitting
My,
that stage. That's the new
yeah.
rebellion, growing up.
My mom kept it 100 with me because when I first told her, I'm like, Mom, you're gonna be a grandma. She was like, okay, well, you're gonna be taking care of her. Like
Right.
she was like, you ain't gonna be, and I know why she said that. It wasn't like because she loved, her grandbabies,
Oh, yeah.
she loved them to death, but she wanted me to understand, like, you're not just gonna be pawning off your kids or
Right.
doing, no, you decided you wanted to have kids.
Right.
Okay, you're gonna step up to the plate and be a father.
Right.
So
Because
yeah.
and I think that's my mom was the same way by without it being said.
Hmm.
I had to put down my foot myself. Um,
Hmm.
and say no. He's not going to come to your house this weekend because he got grounded or he's in trouble. You know,
Hmm.
and uh, and basically be the parent. And no parent is perfect. We're all going to make mistakes. There's no handbook. I know that, but it's the responsibilities for our kids. It's responsibilities for ourselves, whether for better
Hmm.
or for worse. And there's a lot of people that don't like taking responsibility for your shit, and those are the ones that cry and bitch because you didn't hold their hand or give them a free handout. And that's what we're having issues with now is everyone's crying because they're not getting their cake and eating it too. Well, you don't get a prize for showing up. You get a prize for earning it. That's the way
Hmm.
life is. Now there are people who will take advantage of other people for their own means because that's just the nature of it's the opportunistic nature of humans, right?
Hmm.
Is to be assholes and to stand on the shoulders of others and push other people down to prop themselves up. But inevitably, those bodies that you've been standing on will be long gone, and you'll be standing without what do you call it? You're shitting without a pot. And so
Hmm.
that's on you to deal with when that time comes. The empathy that you won't be receiving is of your own doing. So
Exactly.
you have to build that foundation to get somewhere in life. But
Yeah. True.
you know, uh,
True.
um, so I'm getting ready to wrap up a little bit with you. At the
Mm.
end of like the interview, I had done this with a couple other people. Stig Kenobi was the one that suggested because he loves this stuff, and I'm like, I'm on board.
Okay.
Is at the end of inside the actor studio, they have a pivot questionnaire. It's 10
Okay.
questions, and these
Okay.
questions are just a point of view into you. And then also after we're done, we'll be plugging your channel, and you can say let everyone know what you have coming up, I suppose. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with the first question. Um, what is your favorite word?
Favorite word. What is my favorite word? I like calling people rookie for whatever reason. I call everybody a rookie. I call Nina a rookie all the time.
Did she give you
Yeah,
a
so
look?
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, she better. I know that
Yeah,
look
I don't
came
know
in.
why. I be calling the kids rookies. I call everybody rookies. So I don't know. I started in high school. There's these two girls that I'm still friends with. Like we're on Facebook together that I knew in high school. We used to always hang out and stuff. I used to always call them rookie. And so ever since then, they still call me rookie. They'll call me rookie back. But ever since high school, rookie was like my
Just,
word of choice.
just a word you picked up somewhere, you read somewhere.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know. I don't
hilarious.
know where I got rookie from. I'm pretty sure it's like some TV show or something, but
Right.
yeah, I just like calling everybody a rookie. So
Okay,
yeah.
so rookie is your favorite word. What is your least favorite word?
Least favorite word. I don't like shut up. I just I don't like that.
You know, like that. The
Telling
way.
someone to shut. Yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, unless it's a situation where they really deserve it, like shut the fuck up. But
Right.
no, no, I just don't like someone telling someone to shut up. I don't know why. I just never liked that.
Okay. All right. What turns you on creatively, spiritually,
Oh,
or
oh,
emotionally? I
I
know.
thought you were gonna.
I know. I said that to someone else. They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Let me finish. Don't worry."
We
We're
going down
going
the
down the
road. I
dark,
don't know if
a
you.
dark
Yeah.
path here. You're like, "Oh my." No. What turns you
Um.
on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Emotionally is weird because I'm not really an emotional person, but um, ever since I was a kid, I used to, until this day, I'll do it. I will go outside in the middle of the night and just stare up at the skies, stare into the stars. Like my mind, my mind, I have a very vivid imagination, and I'm always thinking, or it kind of like talking to myself in my head a lot. Um, but I always have, I always try to think ahead or think of new things all the time in my head, and I always was at my best when I'm, just kind of in my own space.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be in my own little world. I'll go, I'll take myself on a little hike or something, and that's kind of like time to reflect and think and or whatever. Or if I'm just outside on a nice cool night or something, just staring up at the stars and the moon
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of thinking about a lot of different things and going
So,
over stuff in my head. Yeah.
solitude's like a form of going back to nature, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's how and believe it or not, I was always a nature head ever since I was a kid. That was like my thing. So like, anytime I'm like hiking or in some sort of nature scenery, that's like my time to just kind of be to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I take it as. I'll walk off by myself or something, um, and just kind of be in my own little world.
Well, it's
I just
yeah.
like being around nature. Like that really does something for me.
Well, it's like a recharge. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What turns you off?
Close-mindedness.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to a lot of things, as you know, like me and you, with our podcasts and stuff, we hit on a lot of different subjects. I
Mm-hmm.
really can't stand someone who's just closed-minded and this is just how things are, and you're crazy if you think outside the box and stuff like that. I can't stand that. Like,
Well, like
you know.
I was telling Com Squirrel and a couple other people, Rich is the like you were one of the few people I know where you and you were like, hey, do you want to talk about this and like do
Mhm.
a pod on this and put it out there? And you're like, hell yeah, I don't give hell yeah. Like
Yeah, let's do
there's
it.
a fearlessness to it, and you're one of the few people I know who that's what makes Rich rich because you will you have your moments where you're thinking through something and
Mhm.
you're going on a tangent, but it comes back because that's how you're thinking out loud through that subject because that's how you got there. And
A
it,
lot of it has
you
to do
know,
with my mom because she's the one that encouraged me to push, question everything.
right. Mhm.
And so I would ask her questions. That's when I really started my research was because of my mom.
Mhm.
My mom had UFO books and unexplained books and stuff like that. So I that's piqued my interest as a kid, and she was a big fan of X-Files. So I'd be sitting there watching it. It just made me more curious to start researching, and she would give me different subjects to research. So that's what kind of made me so open-minded like
Mhm.
that was because it started when I was young. My mom, and like I said, my mom was always telling me assume nothing, question everything. So that's where I got it from. All that I got from her.
Yeah. What is your favorite curse word?
Oh, I try. Oh man.
I
Uh,
I know. There's so many.
and I try like the kids. I don't cuss around. That's one thing. I it's just I like I don't even I didn't even cuss around my mom.
Mhm.
So I say fuck a lot. I do.
It's a
I do. I'll say fuck a lot. I'll say damn a lot. Yeah, yeah. I'll be dropping f bombs. Yeah, that's like yeah.
Okay, what sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise. That's a and it's kind of weird. I like the sound of a nice breeze.
Mm-hmm.
I like that sound. Like there's, when it's cool out and it's just real breezy, and I'll go outside and just listen to like the trees moving, the branches moving and stuff. I love that sound for whatever. It's kind of like I could go out there and just close my eyes and just listen to that.
Yeah, that
And
sound.
it's like, yeah, and I'll just be at peace. I love that sound.
Okay, now what sound or noise do you hate?
Mm, the not I call them locusts, but they're called what do you call those things?
Cicadas?
The cicadas. Oh
Yeah.
shit! I'm like, shut the fuck up! Shut up! I'm trying to watch a movie. Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I know.
cicadas.
I mean, they're cool
Yeah.
bugs. Like, they're cool, but the noise they be making, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's an annoying sound.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Well, it's something I've always wanted to do. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be an astronomer.
Mm.
That was like my shit. Like I loved learning about space. Anything and everything. Space was just it for me. I loved learning everything about planets, galaxies, stars, black holes, quasars, neutron star, all that stuff. I loved learning that as a kid. My mom got me a telescope. I used to be out there all night looking at the stars and the moon, and I had all kind of books on the planets and stuff like that. But yeah, I always wanted to be an astronomer. That was like my thing.
Mm. Yeah, that's one of those ones I've heard a few times. Like just
Yeah,
generally with people when they were little.
yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
Oh, there's a few. I don't think I could. Oh man, to have to sit there and clean out or extract clean out the little pumps, the not the what do you call the tanks, the that they have to drain out from like uh, the whole block or wherever they go to drain out all the sewage and stuff from those tanks, where it's a lot of fecal matter and all that in there.
Mhm.
Yeah, dealing with that, I would hate to have a job like that. I know they probably get a good amount of money, but nah, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to. I don't think I could be a like a cafeteria person, because like they have those rules where you can't give the kids free lunch and all that. I'd be like, nah, fuck that. You getting something to eat?
Mhm.
Y'all gonna have to fire me.
Okay, so then, if heaven exists, what would you like God to say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
uh oh, if all that did exist or does exist,
Mhm.
it's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I guess just to say that, even after what I've went through growing up and to adulthood, things I've been through, I was still able to do good by raising two girls and, having them fulfill their dreams and all that. I was able to do my part and still be a good father
Mhm.
to my daughters, because that's like the most important thing to me.
Okay. Well, that was all 10 questions. So,
Cool.
where can people find your stuff?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a pro streamer, but I'm working on it, trying to get to that point one day. I got YouTube, the U.N.D Gamer Die YouTube channel. I have the U.N.D Gamer Die Facebook page, the Twitter handle at U.N.D Gamer Die, and the Twitch U.N.D Gamer Die Twitch channel. And if anybody just wants to join the U.N.D Universal Nerd Division group page where we just post a lot of stuff dealing with movies,
Mm-hmm.
anime, video games, cartoons, blah 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 blah, all pop culture stuff, fun stuff. So yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And do you have anything? I know you do streaming. Rich does a lot of uh, game streaming throughout the week, off and
Mhm.
on. It's like one of those things where you've been popping in and out, doing some
Mhm.
live streams here and there this week, and obviously it's
Mhm.
always depending on schedules and stuff like that. But you can find a lot of his live streams on there. So if you go to his channel, like the channel, make sure you hit the bell. So hopefully you get notifications because YouTube are Nazis. Yay!
Yeah, I did the campaign of the new Modern Warfare. I'm a do some stream some of the multiplayer stuff on there. Waiting for the new Star Wars game. Um, Next week it comes out, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. So, um, gonna get that, stream that. So yeah, yeah. I'll be getting out of here real soon. And of course, I'm gonna get back family Fortnite. When you're dealing with a house full of girls, sometimes they're onto some other stuff. So I'll be doing a family Fortnite here again soon.
Yeah, those are hilarious because,
Yeah,
yeah, the girls are going to bounce off of each other. Sometimes there's going to be a little bit of that game drama that goes on too,
yeah, yeah.
which I think is funny because you're like, uh oh, I see this coming.
they,
You know,
yeah, they make Fortnite more fun than it really is for me. So
yep. So I mean, everybody, please check out Rich's channel and his Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. He just got his U.N.D. Twitter set up, so that's where he'll be tweeting. And if you have any, you can DMs are available on there. You can contact him there or on his channel. So, anyway,
yeah,
I want to thank you, Rich, for hanging out with me and just kind of chilling for a little while early morning because you're on the graveyard right now. But yeah, I'm glad I was able to get on here. We had some time difference issues because I forget because I lived in Arizona for so long that we don't change clocks in Arizona. So
no, I laugh at everybody like, how's it feel?
it
Get
sucks.
adjusted.
It totally sucks, man. I hate it. I'm like, these people, I'm not a farmer, you know,
Yeah,
I'm not. And it doesn't mean shit,
exactly,
just leave it alone. Fall back, leave it there. Don't spring forward. It's even worse when you spring forward. But anyway,
exactly.
oh, God. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for listening and hanging out with Rich and I. And you can find his channels in the description. And I hope everyone has a good night, evening, wherever you are. Bye bye.
Yeah, peace.